Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was betrayed by girls and fell in love with Nagisa Furukawa Part 2. Before we start, please go support Linkrobel13 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Chapter 8. The Moment of Truth. Underworld Phoenix Castle. Bravel was sitting next to her parents while looking at some documents on a small table in front of her. After reading them, she sighed in tiredness because the new series in Issei's movie took up a lot of preparation time and did not give her time to rest. However, she saw a document that she had not read before, which was a letter from the Council of the Underworld, and when she read it, she got a shocking surprise. "I'm engaged to Issei-sama," she screamed at the top of her lungs, quite blushed, leaving her parents almost deaf. Daughter read, "Well, the date is 6 days ago. Issei-kun already signed the papers to cancel the engagement. Look," her mother told her, handing her an envelope with the seal of the Hyoudou family on it. "NA is the image that appears in the boosted gear." Sometimes, having said that, Bravel proceeded to open it to read that indeed, Issei was the one who had declined the council's idea of engaging them. Which relieved the young phoenix a little, but on the part of her parents, there was a certain sadness because they wanted their daughter to marry the young brown-haired man, because for them he was the best option in the entire underworld, but they could not force their daughter to love the young Sekiryu and vice versa, so they could only resign themselves and hope that their daughter did not end up regretting her decisions. "Damn, so much paperwork has me distracted, and I don't work as I should," said the blonde, complaining, but for her, being the manager of the Sekiryu was the best, so a little work wouldn't stop her. Human World, Kuo City Hyoudou residence. The brown-haired boy was getting everything ready for the night because tonight his friends would stay to talk about the girls and the Founders Festival, but he didn't expect that he would suddenly receive a call on his cell phone from Mitsuda, so he decided to answer. "Hello Mitsuda, what's wrong?" Issei asked, somewhat curious. "Hey Issei, I think we got lost and we couldn't find your house," said the bald man, a little confused. "How did it happen? They've already come at least a couple of times." Now the brown-haired boy was a bit surprised that his lifelong friends had forgotten where his house was. "Well, we found a 6-story mansion where we thought your house was," said the bald man, but just at that moment Issei's brain clicked and he remembered that after remodeling his house, he never invited them to his house or anything like that because Riaz and the others lived with him at that time. He went out to the hall and opened the door, finding Mitsuda, Motohama and Sunohara outside with a look of surprise upon seeing that the mansion was indeed the brown-haired man's house. "I don't believe it, Issei, you live in a mansion," shouted Sunohara, somewhat shocked so much that he almost fainted. "I forgot to tell you that, hahaha," the brown-haired boy laughed nervously. "A few months ago, my parents won a house renovation," the brown-haired boy lied. "Shit, how could you forget something like that?" said the black-haired man with glasses, but then he remembered what Azazel had told him the day before when Issei joined the choir club with the theater club. "You know what, forget it these days. The weird thing would be if you didn't forget to tell us," he said calmly. "You're right, Motohama. Issei forgets details all the time, like yesterday when he remembered that he had to hand in his resignation from the occult club." "Hahaha," said the bald man, now calmer. Well, Sunohara had already recovered because remembering what Azazel told them the day before made him remember that Issei was thinking about so many things at once that he didn't have time to rest. "Well, let's have fun, it's Friday night," Issei said enthusiastically as the young men entered the brown-haired boy's house. Once inside, they looked surprised, but more so Sunohara, since he was from a somewhat poor family, so seeing so many somewhat ostentatious decorations left him shocked, but the straw that broke the camel's back was seeing Asia in the place, since it seemed strange to him to see his classmate in his friend's house. "Argento-san? What are you doing here?" Sunohara asked, quite curious. "I live here, Sunohara-san," said the blonde, leaving the young man with more doubts. "I'll explain it to you," Mitsuda said, standing next to Asia. She moved to the city last year and is staying at Issei's house, but Issei's parents, upon finding out that Asia-chan is an orphan, decided to adopt her as their own daughter. "By the way, Issei, when are you going to change Asia-chan's last name?" he said to the blonde and then asked Issei about it. "About that, they plan to make her my legal sister this very Saturday, so today is her last day as Asia Argento to become Asia Hyoudou starting tomorrow," said the brown-haired boy as he approached them. "You know, having 2 sisters is the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life." That made Asia smile a lot, while Lilith ran to the brown-haired boy to show him a drawing of her. Asia and him together holding hands while the words brothers were in the sky made of clouds. "The drawing is very pretty, Lilith Tan. Let me stick it on the refrigerator and scan it to digitize it," said the brown-haired boy happily as he approaches a scanner and puts the drawing in the machine. After that, he goes to the kitchen to stick the drawing with a magnet on the refrigerator next to other drawings that the little dragon had previously drawn for the brown-haired boy. After that, the young people went to a room to play video games and eat snacks, drink sodas, and have fun until midnight. Okay guys, we have to talk about the festival, Issei said in a serious tone, while he raised a soundproof barrier so that no one could hear the conversation, especially Asia, her mother, because he wanted no one to know that he would be playing at the festival for the moment. Of course, he raised the barrier without any of his friends finding out. Of course Issei, you're right, well let's start, what do you think, said Mitsuda seriously, something that until now was somewhat rare in the. Well, from what we know, we're going to play 2 songs, but I think we should go with a bigger repertoire, Motohama said, drawing the attention of the rest. You're right, but above all we have to rehearse. I know that you've known each other longer than I have, but it still wouldn't be bad to rehearse at least 1 hour a day, Sunohara said this time, a little nervous. Don't worry, in fact that's what I wanted to propose, since I have some free rooms, I can have one set up so I can play at ease, said the brown-haired boy, receiving a nod from the others in response. Well, what songs do you propose? I propose Dance with the Devil by Breaking Benjamin and Monster by Skillet. I propose Button by Penguin Research and Kimi Nai Todak by Tanazawa Tomafumi, said Motohama, proposing 2 songs. I propose Goya no Michiwas by Hello Sleepwalkers and Kairon Hey Kids by The Oral Cigarettes, said Mitsuda smiling. I propose Identity by Mikio Sakai and 7 Deadly Sins by Man with a Mission, said Sunohara this time. But that we already have 10 songs for the day, now we need to practice them, but remember, the first 2 will be dedicated to the girls. I even think that one of the ones that Motohama recommended could be dedicated to the girls. I'm sure they'll love them, said Issei, motivated. Well, leaving aside the festival, how do you plan to declare your love for them? Said the blonde, a little curious. Me and Motohama were planning to invite Caillou and Ryu on a double date, and when we accidentally get separated, we'll take the opportunity to say how we feel about them, said the bald man, receiving a nod from the black-haired man with glasses. I for one don't know if I should do it at tomorrow's picnic or do it the day after the festival, said Issei, but he didn't expect the next response from Sunohara. Idiot, do it at the picnic tomorrow, that way at the festival they will go as a couple, said the blonde, supporting his friend. She's right, Issei, you have to do it tomorrow. In fact, you know, I've noticed that she stares at you a lot and blushes a lot around you. That's a clear sign that she likes you too, said the bald man while raising his fist. Are you sure what you saw? Issei said thoughtfully. Come on, man, from the karaoke last time or the fact that you skipped class to see her at the hospital, and before you ask me how I know, it's because I heard that my parents saw you entering and leaving the hospital, and after finding out that Nagisa was there I assumed that you went to see her, but it's not just that, at the basketball game she cared a lot about you. Apart from that, you saved her from getting hit by a tennis ball that wasn't going slow at all, and to say all that is an understatement, said the black-haired man with glasses. Not only that, Issei, Aika told me that she talks about you a lot when they are alone, or the fact that she sits next to you at mealtimes, but not only that, you know, Aika took a picture of her when we were at the basketball game, and another when we won and we were celebrating on the court. Look, said Sunohara to pass the phone to Issei, who upon seeing both photos, especially the last one, realized that Nagisa clearly saw him in love. That could no longer be denied, the evidence was right in front of him. Let me confirm something at the picnic to be completely sure, said the brown-haired boy quite nervously, something that did not go unnoticed by his friends. Issei, I'm also nervous, but remember you're not alone. We're all here to support each other, Mitsuda said. It's true, Issei, there's no time to doubt. With your support I feel more confident, Motohama said. Issei, it's thanks to you and Hyoudou that Aika and I met, and even more so that we both started dating, and I am eternally grateful to you, so if it's in my hands, I will try to help you in any way I can, said Sunohara, causing everyone to smile more calmly. Okay, enough of the complicated stuff, said the brown-haired boy as he dispelled the barrier. Let's have fun, said the brown-haired boy, taking a controller from the console to start playing until 4 AM when everyone fell exhausted because the basketball game had taken all their energy and they still sang karaoke for a while. Not to mention that playing so many video games made them fall into the hands of Morpheus. It was daytime and the brown-haired boy was barely getting up. He was still completely exhausted, but he knew he had to get up to get ready because he had to go to the picnic with Nagisa and her family, so he had to wake up Lilith and say goodbye to his friends, so with all the energy he had, he managed to get up and went to take a shower and then wake up Lilith. After getting out of the shower he went to Lilith's room to wake her up, but he was very surprised to see her ready to leave, so he went with his friends to say goodbye to them, who had already taken their things to leave. See you guys, wish me luck, said Issei as he said goodbye to them. Issei, I hope everything goes well. I'll go with Motohama to your you-know-what, said the bald man while encouraging his friend. Ah, this house is so cool, I would like to stay here all my life, but I have to go back to the academy apartments. See you, Issei, and good luck, said Sunohara, this time saying goodbye to the brown-haired boy. Once Mitsuda, Motohama and Sunohara left, Issei prepared to leave with Lilith on his shoulders towards Nagisa's house, but suddenly he realized something, and it was that he was quite late, so he quickened his pace until he reached Nagisa's house, where Nagisa was already waiting for him, a little worried. "Nagisa-chan, sorry I'm late," the brown-haired boy said out loud. "Issei-kun was waiting for you," she said while smiling. "Thank goodness, Issei-kun, Lilith-chan, we were waiting for you," said Nagisa's mother with a warm smile as she took the little black-haired girl in her arms. "Considering the time of day, we can't go very far anymore," said the light-reed, a little tired. "I'm really sorry, I do," but he didn't finish saying because Akio put a baseball bat near his face, more precisely the handle of the bat. "We couldn't leave because of you, so take responsibility and play with us," Aiko said, still in her serious face. That was the only thing the brown-haired boy could say, a little intrigued. With Mitsuda and Motohama. They were sitting on a bench waiting for the Fujibayashi sisters to arrive, because after leaving the Chestnut Tree's house, they called the twins to ask them to go for a walk through the city center, which they gladly accepted, since they themselves thought it was a double date, which was not wrong at all, except that the young people would not say it. In the distance, the pair of twins could be seen arriving calmly. "Iswaki-kun, sorry I'm late," said the long-haired twin. "Takumi-kun, did you wait for us for a long time?" Ryu asked, a little embarrassed. "Don't worry, we just arrived a few minutes ago," Mitsuda said, lying. They had obviously been waiting for them for more than half an hour, even though they should have arrived only 5 minutes ago. "Nothing happens, Ryu-chan," Motohama said, suddenly causing her to blush suddenly. "Okay, let's go to the mall, girls," Mitsuda said, making them nod happily. And so they walked to the mall, passing first a small food place where Mitsuda ordered a katsudon, while Motohama simply ordered ramen. For his part, Caillou ordered a strawberry cake and a lemonade, while Ryu ordered a chocolate cupcake and a melon soda. "And how is the cake, Caillou?" said Mitsuda, causing the long-haired girl to blush quite a bit, but respond happily. "Yes, it's very delicious, and how is the katsudon, Yasuaki-kun?" Caillou asked. "It's very tasty, I think I know where to come when I want to eat one," said the bald man very happily, but the young purple-haired girl with long hair blushed a little to say. "If you want, one of these days I'll make you one at my house," she said timidly. "Of course I would be delighted to eat something that you prepare, Caillou," he said, to which she just nodded silently with a big blush, and seeing that they were not going to talk anymore, Motohama decided to break the ice. "Hey Ryu-chan, how is that chocolate cupcake?" asked the black-haired boy with glasses. "It's very delicious, thank you." "And how is the ramen, Takumi-kun?" asked the short-haired purple-haired girl. "It's very delicious, but I really feel like it's missing something," said Motohama, a little discouraged. "If you want, I'll make you one day," she said shyly and with a slight blush. "Of course I would be very happy to eat something made by you, it will surely be super delicious," said the black-haired man quite excitedly. After eating they went to play arcade games for a while, mostly racing and shooting games, which they played for a long time. From there they went to walk around the place to visit the clothing stores, however by accident the couple separated. On one side were Mitsuda and Caillou, on the other were Motohama and Ryu. With Mitsuda and Caillou. They walked through the upper floor of the shopping center calmly and slowly, while Caillou was a little blushed walking next to a nervous Mitsuda, who wondered if this was a good opportunity to tell her what he felt. However, she went ahead to a place where there was a glass floor where people did not walk because they were afraid that the glass would break, but that was impossible because the glass was extremely resistant. "Come on Yasuaki-kun, you can see the first floor from here," she said excitedly. Let's go, Caillou," he said, a little nervous, but he only went as far as where the glass floor began because he was afraid of heights. Come on," she said as she took the bald man by the hand and he stopped in place, a little scared of the height, something that didn't go unnoticed by the young purple-haired girl. "Wait, do you have a fear of heights?" "No, nothing like that," he pretended to be brave, but inside he was scared. "Well then come here with me," she said as she tried to pull him towards the glass floor. Wait, he said, quite nervous. "So if you're afraid of heights, how cute," she says mockingly. "Don't call me sweet," said the bald man, a little annoyed, but deep down he was excited because she said sweet to him. As long as I don't look down, this will be nothing," said he, a little determined. "So you're trying hard, huh?" she said while smiling. "Of course, this is nothing," he said, pretending to be fine. At that moment she pulled him towards her with a little force and he got a little scared. I give up," he said while she laughed amused. "You're really afraid of heights," she said, smiling warmly. Yes, he said while he was dying of fear inside. "What can I do?" she said, taking him by both hands and facing him. "If I take your hands, you feel safer, right?" she said with a warm smile and a slight blush. "Yes," he said, much more relaxed and with a slight blush. "Well, let's stay like this for a while," she said warmly. "Thanks, Caillou," he said quite happily. It's okay, no problem, she said as she squeezed the bald man's hands a little tighter. Hey, when you look at the city from such a high place, don't you think the city looks smaller? I think so, he said as his heart raced because holding hands was something that excited him a lot. But just a week ago I got here and I feel like it's paradise. This is the place where I laughed the most, had the most fun, and also where I fell in love, she said. Well, the bald man really blushed at the warm look and smile that the purple-haired girl gave him. You know, Mitsuda, there's something I want to tell you, she said a little seriously. Friends, classmates, members of the same club, there are many ways to describe our relationship, but I don't want it to stay like that, she said. Well, Mitsuda could only say Caillou softly, I finally realized my feelings. Until now I was happy to be with you on a few occasions, but that's already passed before I realized you started to attract me. For a short time we made quite a few memories, and they are the ones that made me feel this way. When I found out about your reputation I was a little disappointed, but I can say that you're not like that anymore. You've changed. Now you're a healthy and mature young man, she said warmly. Mitsuda, I like you. If you're okay with this me of mine, I'll be by your side forever because I want to be with you all the time. Caillou. Is it okay if we're together? Mitsuda said while his heart was beating hard. Then you only need to say one thing, Caillou said while looking him straight in the eyes. I know, he said in a low voice. I like you too, Caillou, please go out with me, he said as he felt the whole world disappear and only he and she were in the. Yes, she said as they shortened the distance between them more and more, and right in front of the astonished gazes of everyone present, the two of them sealed their relationship with a tender and pure kiss, which lasted for quite a while. After that they remained embraced without saying a single word. With Motohama and Ryu. Motohama and Ryu walked together through the ground floor of the mall until they came to a fountain that was in the place where they decided to sit on some benches that were around the fountain. Then Ryu decided to talk. You know, there's something I want to tell you, she said as she got a little closer to the young black-haired boy. Sure, tell me what it is. I'll listen to everything you have to tell me, he said while smiling happily and wondering if he should tell her what he feels now. You know, I heard about your reputation, Yasuaki-kun's and Issei-san's, that you were the perverted trio, but when I spent time with you, I realized that it's not like that you are not that kind of people, and if you were, you have changed a lot. Now you are healthy and mature young people, but today I don't want to talk about your friends, but about you. You know, all this time since I moved to Kuo I have never had so much fun, and meeting you was one of the things that has made me the happiest, and knowing that you are always there for me makes me very happy, she said while she blushed more and more, and he just paid attention attentively to everything she wanted to tell him. There are a lot of things you've done that mean a lot to me, from singing the first time together at karaoke, the time when those boys attacked Nagisa, my sister, Aika and me, you defended me no matter that we had only known each other for a day. But it wasn't just that, it was each and every one of the things you've done this week that they showed me who you really were, and I can't help but hide it any longer. I want to tell you what I feel. He paused for a few seconds, gathering the courage to say it, but Motohama got there first. Ryu, I like you and I can say it with all my heart. I've never felt something like this before for anyone. That's why I want to be with you every moment and make you happy. Wake up in the mornings, knowing that I'll see you, and that I'll know that you're here by my side, being the only one in my heart. Ryu, would you go out with me? Said the black-haired man, while Ryu threw himself into a hug with force, letting out a big yes that everyone present who watched the scene in front of them could only sigh at how tender the two of them looked together. However, Ryu suddenly separated from the hug and said, Motohama-kun, I love you, she said as she closed the distance between them, and while Motohama hugged her waist and she hugged him by the neck, they gave each other a tender and innocent kiss, full of feelings under the attentive gaze of all the spectators who took photos of the tender scene that the couple starred in, and right above them, another couple sealed their relationship in the same way with a beautiful kiss. With Issei and Nagisa. After a while you can see Aiko playing baseball with the neighborhood kids, while he hits a ball thrown by a kid and runs to first base smiling like a fool. I'm doing pretty well today, he said proudly. Did you see that, Sani? He said out loud. Yes, I saw it perfectly, she answers happily. And you've fallen in love with me again, right? Iritide asks. Well, you're wonderful, Akio-san, she says, quite happy. Isn't that right? He says, a little arrogantly. While Issei thinks this guy with a drop of sweat on the back of his neck, he then goes to see the food they had prepared for the picnic. Issei-kun, I helped prepare this bento, please eat a little, said the brunette as she lifted the small box while smiling happily. Of course, as Issei as he takes some food with his chopsticks and then tastes the food. It's delicious, says the brown-haired boy, making Nagisa even happier. I'm glad to hear that, she says with a slight blush on her cheeks and a smile. Brat, it's your turn to bat, Aiko shouts from afar, get in the batter's position. Okay, here I go, he says out loud, I'll see you later. If you look carefully, she says with a smile and still slightly blushing. Go all out on each hand, says Lilith as she watches Issei get into position. "Let's see if I can hit it," says the brown-haired boy in his mind, but Drake answers him, "Hey, that's child's play with your reflexes, better concentrate on not sending her flying to the other side of the city." "Thanks for the advice, partner," says the sarcastic one. "You're welcome, partner, that's what we're here for," says the Welsh dragon, while Issei prepares to bat and ends up throwing it a little far away, but enough for it to reach first base. "Good one, Brad," Aiko shouts effusively as she reaches second base, and Issei reaches first base. "Have you seen that, Nagisa-chan?" Issei shouts quite happily. "Yes, I saw it perfectly," she answers quite happily. "And you've fallen in love with him again, right?" Aiko asks amused. "Well yes, Dad," Nagisa shouts, quite embarrassed and blushing. At that moment, the cigarette that Nagisa's father had in his mouth falls and he grabs his head and screams, "Shit, was she in love with him?" She screams quite loudly while Nagisa's mother turns to look at Nagisa and then turns to look at Issei and then back at Nagisa and then back at Issei repeatedly with a smile. Issei for his part blushes a lot and turns to look at Nagisa to see her blushing a lot, and she turns to look at him while blushing more and then looks at the ground quite embarrassed. "Nagisa, it's your turn to bat, move," Aiko shouts desperately like a child throwing a tantrum. "Do I hit too?" She wonders out loud and then walks up to the batter's spot and positions herself quite nervously. "You can do it, Nagisa-chan," says Issei, and after that Nagisa blushes and closes his eyes, hitting the ball a little far away. "Well done, Nagisa-chan," says Issei enthusiastically. "Hi," she says happily. "Start running, Nagisa-chan," says the brown-haired boy out loud, and immediately after Nagisa runs to first base quite happy. "Well, it's your turn, Lilith-chan," Akio says to the little black-haired girl as she turns to look at Issei, who nods his head for her to play. She positions herself, but then remembers that Issei held back a lot when batting, so she decides to do the same and ends up hitting the ball a little further than the others. "Well done, Lilith-chan," Issei shouts as he runs to third base. "Well done, Lilith-chan, you're the best," says Nagisa quite happily as he runs to second base. "Well done, Lilith-chan, I'll buy you a toy as a reward," says Aiko quite happily. "Ani-chan, did you see that?" the little dragon says out loud. "Yes, I saw it perfectly," says the brown-haired boy, sensing that his little sister wanted to play the same game as the others. "And are you going to buy me more candy?" she says very innocently, which makes the brown-haired boy happy. "I'm going to buy you lots of candy," says the brown-haired boy, quite happy. After that, everyone sat down to eat, but Nagisa still looked very blushed while Akio was a little upset, but not because his daughter was in love with Issei, but because he didn't respond to the accidental confession, so he decided to talk to the brown-haired boy alone. "And tell me what you think about this, Brad," asks the retard while lighting a cigarette to smoke a little. "I have to give you an honest answer, old man. I can't leave things like this," said the brown-haired man, quite seriously. "Well then do it, because I wouldn't like to see my daughter wait for an answer that would take you a long time to give," says the retard a little seriously. "Just make her happy, okay? I don't want to see her get sad even a little, because if not I will knock you down," he says in an even more serious tone, implying that he wasn't joking. "Don't worry, I would never do something that would make Nagisa feel sad," says Issei in a serious tone, since for Nagisa, it was indeed very important. "I hope so, Brad, now come out and face it like a man," he says, pushing the brown-haired boy from the back so he can go to Nagisa. "Nagisa," he says in a serious and calm tone, something that Nagisa notices since it was the first time he called her by her name like that. "What's wrong, Issei-kun?" she says, a little nervous. "There's something I wanted to talk to you about today," says Issei, still serious. "What is it about?" she asks somewhat curiously. How to say it. Surely it would be funny to say that we're dating when we wake up tomorrow morning," he says, a little nervous but very sure of himself. "Huh?" Nagisa says, a little confused since she didn't understand. "Please go out with me, Nagisa, I love you so much, so I want you to always be with me," he says, totally determined while he watches Nagisa blush quite a bit and then put his hands together in the middle of his face and a few small tears begin to come out of his eyes and he lowers his hands, showing a very happy smile. "Hi, Issei-kun," she says as the distance between them slowly closes until in the background, a beautiful sunset illuminates the pair of chestnut trees, while the sakura flowers danced in the wind and the gaze of everyone present was fixed on one thing, on the most tender kiss in history. Nagisa hugged Issei tightly while he reciprocated the hug, while their lips melted into a tender and innocent kiss. Nagisa's heart shook every second in a sea of emotions, while Issei for his part felt his heart burst with emotion, and in the distance a couple of a bald man and a certain long-haired purple-haired girl held hands while they watched a beautiful scene in front of them, and right next to them a black-haired man with glasses and the other short-haired purple-haired girl holding hands while she rested her head on the young man's chest, sighed at the tender scene, but in the distance a blonde man and a brown-haired woman with pigtails watched the three couples that had formed today, and with a smile they said at the same time, "They are finally together." Chapter 9. An embarrassing afternoon. Nagisa hugged Issei tightly while he reciprocated the hug, while their lips melted into a tender and innocent kiss. Nagisa's heart shook every second in a sea of emotions, while Issei for his part, felt his heart burst with emotion, and in the distance a couple of a bald man and a certain long-haired purple-haired girl held hands while they watched a beautiful scene in front of them, and right next to them a black-haired girl with glasses and the other short-haired purple-haired girl holding hands while she rested her head on the young man's chest, sighed at the tender scene, but in the distance a blonde and a brown-haired girl with pigtails watched the three couples that had formed today, and with a smile they said at the same time. They are finally together. But Aridid approached the brown-haired couple and said loudly. Okay, couple, it's time to go home and drop off our things, said Nagisa's father, which made them separate instantly, quite embarrassed, but with a huge smile. It's okay dad, we're going, said Nagisa while she was followed by Issei. It should be said that Sunohara and Aika approached the other two spectator couples and congratulated them on their relationships and then went with Issei and Nagisa to congratulate them as a group. When they arrived, they greeted them. Hey guys, what are you doing here? The brown-haired boy asked as he watched Kayu and Mitsuda coming hand in hand while Ryu and Motohama were the same, which the brown-haired boy noticed immediately and said, "Congratulations guys, it seems you guys started dating too," said Issei happy for his friends. "Yes, but first of all I want to tell you that we saw them kissing," said the blonde of the group. How embarrassing, said Nagisa while covering his face with the brown-haired boy's chest, and at that moment Nagisa's father arrived. "Oh, but they are my daughter's friends, how are they?" said the Aridid, quite happy. "We're feeling pretty good actually, hahaha," Kayu said as he watched Nagisa still covering her face on Issei's chest. "Hey brat, I'd like to go meet your parents, preferably today," said the Aridid, quite happy because seeing his daughter embarrassed and embarrassing Issei in the process was very funny to him. "He wants to meet my parents, well once we leave things at his house we'll go to mine," said the brown-haired boy, but Sunohara spoke. "Hey Issei, I forgot something at your house, can we join you?" said the blonde calmly, but inside he was laughing like a villain in a movie because he wanted to see the shocked face everyone would make when they saw Issei's house. "Sure, why not? You can stay for dinner by the way," said the brown-haired boy calmly, but Drake was laughing because his bearer had forgotten again that his house was basically a mansion. "Well then let's help carry things," said Kayu, while helping Sani carry some dishes. "Ani-chan, I'm sleepy," said the little black-haired girl, while Nagisa picked her up in his arms so she could fall asleep while she carried her, rocking her slowly. For a while everyone collected everything that was used in the picnic and took it to Nagisa's house, which was right in front of the park. Once everything was finished, Issei approached Nagisa, who was carrying a sleeping and very tender black-haired girl. "Well, everything is finished, come with me, Lilith Tan," said the brown-haired boy as he took the little brunette in his arms without waking her up because she looked very tender like a baby. "Okay, let's go to your house, brat," said Nagisa's father as they began to walk, although on the way Nagisa's mother took Lilith in her arms so that the brown-haired boy could walk more comfortably, something that Issei thanked her for the help. It must be said that when she was in Sani's arms, Lilith settled down like a baby while sucking her finger, something that made more than one go oh. Upon arriving, everyone was stunned by what they saw, except for Mitsuda, Motohama, Sunohara, Aika and Nagisa, who had already seen Issei's house before. At that moment, Asia opened the door while a white-haired maid accompanied her. "Nice-and, it's good that you arrived, Searches-sama is looking for you," said Asia, without noticing how Nagisa's father opened his eyes wide when he saw that it was indeed the brown-haired boy's house. "Issei-sama, Searches-sama is in his office, go see him as soon as possible," the maid asked, but at that moment Issei's father came out. "Oh son, you've already come, who are the ones who," but he stopped when he saw Nagisa's father. "It can't be Akio-san, we haven't seen each other for many years," said the older brown-haired boy happily as he stretched out his hand. "Wait, it's you, Kotaro, hahaha, I already said it because the surname Hyoudou of my future son-in-law seems so familiar to me," said the Aridid quite happily, embarrassing the new couple and causing laughter in those present. "I see that life is treating you well, Kotaro," he said, while looking at the Hyoudou house. "It's actually my son's house, hahaha, he's an excellent businessman," said the brown-haired man's father, making everyone look at him impressed. "Issei-sama, please hire me. I can do whatever you ask me to do. I can even do the gardening," said Sunohara, bowing very exaggeratedly. "I'm sorry but we don't have any vacancies right now," said the maid without further ado, making the blonde fall defeated. "Don't worry Sunohara, I'll look for something to occupy you with, especially something good for a friend, and don't call me Sama, it's quite uncomfortable," said the brown-haired boy as he gave his hand to the blonde to get up. "Thank you Issei, thank you," he said while shedding tears. Well, if you'll excuse me, I'll go see what one of my partners needs, with permission, said the brown-haired boy, bowing slightly and then looking at his girlfriend and saying, Nagisa-chan, I'll see you later, he said, blushing a lot and then retreating to talk to Searches. My goodness, our future son-in-law is really important, right? I hope he can give Nagisa a good life, said the retard to his wife, while Nagisa became even more embarrassed. The haha, okay, come in, don't stay outside, make yourself at home, said the older brown-haired boy, making everyone enter the Hyoudou residence. With Issei. He was calmly talking with Searches about the affairs of his territory in the underworld when the Mayu decided to change the subject. You know Issei-kun, soon we will organize a fighting tournament in the underworld. There will be 10 teams with 10 members and all factions will be able to participate, said the retard. And you want me to participate? Or are you inviting me to your team? Asked the intrigued brown-haired boy. In reality, the leaders will not participate, but each one must form his own team, so I ask you to be the leader of the team that I have to form, said the Mao. Well, I accept, but I must know who my companions will be, said the brown-haired boy as the door to the meeting room opened, with Volley entering, looking defiantly at Issei. So if you're going to participate, Issei, this is going to get interesting. I'm on Azazel's team, so we're going to be rivals in the tournament, the silver-haired man said in thought. Issei, I will definitely defeat you and you too, Volley said. Saji, who was accompanied by Seraphol, team Leviathan will win, so get ready celestial dragons. I have a question. Searches, what will the prize be? Issei said, intrigued. We will fulfill the winner's wish, said the two mass at the same time. HMPH, I don't care. I only have one goal, and that is to defeat the Sekiryuite in the tournament. Volley said, but then turned to look at Saji. You too, Vitra. I hope Saraog enters the tournament. He's on Team Beelzebub, Seraphol said in a serious tone. I'll see you on the day of the tournament, see you soon, she said, disappearing into a magic circle with Saji. Well, leaving aside the tournament that is going on for the movie, do you know when it will be released? Asked the brown-haired boy, since he wanted to see the premiere on the opening day. It will be in 2 days at 10 am, said the Mao, leaving the brown-haired boy in a difficult position because that day he had classes and the time of the premiere was in his class schedule. Don't worry, Issei will be able to go see her, I promise you that, said the Mao, but inside he smiled maliciously, something that went unnoticed by the two celestial dragons who challenged each other with their bays. This tournament will be interesting, won't it, Sekiryuite, said the silver-haired man. Indeed, Hacker Yuiku, this tournament will be a good challenge, said the brown-haired boy with emotion but a serious look. By the way, Issei-kun, I sent some new human presences in your house, did you bring guests? The Mao asked, earning a nod from Issei. Yes, they are my friends from the academy and my girlfriend, he said, the last thing blushing a lot, but one of those present was intrigued. Issei, do you have a human girlfriend? How are you going to explain to her the huge house you have? Volley asked him. I'm also intrigued, Issei-kun, said the Mao, looking at the brown-haired boy. My father came forward and said that I am a successful businessman and that you were my business partner, said the brown-haired man sadly. Well, technically we are partners in the underworld business that exists in your territory, so there is not much of a lie in that. On the other hand, I want to meet your current girlfriend, said the Mao, excited by the last thing, because the real reason was to bother the brown-haired boy and his girlfriend with some nonsense. I'm thinking the same thing, I'm intrigued to know who the current Sekiryuite's girlfriend is, said Volley, looking at Issei seriously, but inside he wanted to annoy the couple just like the Mao, because an exchange of glances between the two was enough to know what the other was thinking. Okay, let's go. I'll introduce you to my girlfriend, Issei said, blushing a little. They left the room to find Azazel arriving, so Searches made a sign for him to follow them, and with a pure look Azazel realized what the two holders of the title Lucifer were up to. Upon reaching the room, Grafia served them tea, while Issei stood right next to Nagisa and said, "Let me introduce you to my girlfriend Furukawa." "Nagisa," said the brown-haired boy, while Nagisa blushed a little and at the same time got excited to meet Issei's business partners, while Leisha was happy that her older brother had a new girlfriend. "They are Search's Gremory, owner of the Gremory Company," the aforementioned greeted kindly, making a slight bow. "He is." But he could not finish when Volley took the floor. "I am Volley Morningstar, colleague and rival of Hyoudou Issei. It is a pleasure," said the platinum-haired man while bowing slightly. "I'm Furukawa Nagisa, I'm Issei's girlfriend and a member of the drama club." "It's a pleasure," she said nervously and completely blushed as she said that she was Issei's girlfriend, but every time she said it she got more excited. "Issei-kun, can I ask you a question?" Nagisa said as she looked Issei in the eyes. "Yes, Nagisa, what is it about?" the brown-haired boy asked, intrigued. "What is Azazel-sensei doing in your house?" the brunette asked, somewhat curious. "Well, then," and the chestnut was interrupted again by none other than Azazel. "You see, Nagisa-chan, I'm Issei's business advisor and I'm a partner in the Hyoudou company," said the fallen man. Anyway, I'm glad to see that you're a couple now, as his club tutor. I couldn't be happier. This made the brown-haired couple blush while he laughed inside at the brown-haired couple's attitude. Then he looked at Akio and made a face of genuine surprise. Are you Furukawa Akio? Azazel asked, a little excited. If I'm the same, why? Is there something I can help you with? Nagisa's father said. I would like to have your autograph. I'm a fan of yours from when you were a theater actor. I even went to several of your performances, said Azazel very excitedly, while Nagisa was surprised by that because she didn't know that her father had been a theater actor. Of course, why not? Nagisa's father said as he took the notebook that the fallen man had taken from a coffee table next to him. I would like to ask you why you stopped acting. If it is not too much trouble, asked the fallen man, sensing the answer, which he was not wrong about. I retired for the miracle and most precious gift that life could have given me, my little and beloved daughter. I wanted to be with her as much as possible, and when I saw that my work was going to prevent me from doing so, I stopped acting, she said, leaving Nagisa stunned because her father left the theater for her, and that hurt her a little. But when she felt Issei's hand taking hers and seeing that he was giving her a smile that told her that he misunderstood the situation, it made her calm down, especially because of what Searches answered. I understand perfectly, a father would do anything for his children. I have my little Milikas, and sometimes I escape from my work just to play with him, said the Mayu, while Grafia shook her head, because that was true, the Mayu constantly escaped from his work to see his beloved son, or made up excuses to see her as his beloved younger sister. Yes, and that's why I stopped acting. My daughter was more important. I didn't want to miss a second of her life, and now he began to cry comically while screaming, and his wife patted him on the back. She has a boyfriend, Bue. He began to cry comically, further embarrassing poor Nagisa who hid her face in Issei's chest. I see, by the way, I would like to ask you a favor, said Azazel in a serious tone. Of course, if it's within my possibilities, said Nagisa's father. I could go to the drama club one of these days to instruct the members of the club. I think that someone so good at acting could instruct them well, said Azazel somewhat happily. Of course I could help everyone and spend time with Nagisa, said the light reed. Well, I really appreciate it. Well, I'm leaving. I have things to do. By the way, once again, congratulations Issei-kun, said the fallen one, embarrassing the couple even more, before leaving through the main door. Issei-kun, we'll talk later. I still have some things to talk about with Rias. I hope you're happy and happy. If there's anything you need help with, count on me, said the red-haired Mayu, accompanied by his wife, to go to the Kuo Academy to talk to his beloved younger sister. Hyoudou Issei, I'll see you later and congratulations, make her happy, said the platinum-haired man as he walked out the door and waving goodbye with one hand. It must be said that Nagisa did not let go of Issei because of the pain, and Issei was turning redder and redder, while laughter did not wait from the parents and friends of the couple. After a while they decided to have dinner, while Sunohara asked Issei if he could stay with him because he had problems paying the rent where he was staying, and Issei did not hesitate to invite him because since the departure of the Gremory girls of course except for Asia in the house, there were many rooms left, so Issei gladly accepted and even told him that he did not have to pay or enter anything. Which made the blonde happy and promised that he would help in whatever way. While they were having dinner, Issei's and Nagisa's parents were talking pleasantly, remembering their days as students, and it turns out that they were in the drama club, so for the two of them they were talking very happily. For their part, the mothers of the brown-haired couple were talking about a possible wedding and even about future grandchildren. Which embarrassed the two young people, but in their minds they even liked the idea, but they wouldn't say it yet. For their part, Mitsuda and Motohama were talking to their girlfriends quite happily, however Aika and Sunohara were bothering them with jokes and other things as revenge for the times they had done it, although they would not dare to bother Issei and Nagisa, because they were afraid that Issei would refuse to host the blonde. Which was silly because the brown-haired boy would never get angry with them, and he esteemed them very much. Asia was talking to Nagisa and Issei about the relationship they had, congratulating them and wishing them to be happy. For her, Issei being happy was the most important thing in the world because her brother always supported her in everything, so she wanted to at least return the favor once, although Issei didn't care if they returned any favor. After dinner Nagisa's parents decided it was time to leave as it was already dark, so the brown-haired bearer of the boosted gear offered to accompany them by car. Something they initially wanted to refuse, but given the distance between houses and the time they couldn't risk it as it was known that in Kuo people died in strange ways among other rumors that they preferred not to find out so they accepted, and when they got into the vehicle, a butler demon at the service of the Gremory offered to take them, and Issei decided to take Nagisa on a motorcycle. Because he wanted to spend at least a moment alone with her, and although she was somewhat afraid of motorcycles, but being next to Issei made her feel safe, so she agreed to go with him. On the way she hugged the brown-haired man with all her strength while she leaned her head on Issei's back, and when they arrived, Nagisa's parents said goodbye and entered their house to give the brown-haired couple some space, and already being alone Issei took a little courage to say. "Nagisa, do you want to go on a date with me tomorrow?" He said while he was sweating profusely inside, listening to Drake say not to worry, that everything was going to be okay. Yes, I do," said the brunette quite nervously because it had only been a few hours since they were a couple, and this day was tiring for her. "Well, I'll pick you up at 11 in the morning," he said as he approached her, Nagisa. She turned to look him in the eyes, "I love you," and with that she blushed a lot, but Issei only cared about one thing, "I love you with all my soul," and when he was in front of her, he approached her face, and in a very shy kiss they melted into each other. Hugging each other in the deep feelings they felt for each other. Chapter 10. Appointment. "Nagisa, do you want to go on a date with me tomorrow?" He said while he was sweating profusely inside, listening to Drake say not to worry, that everything would be fine. Yes, I do," said the brunette quite nervously because it had only been a few hours since they were a couple, and this day was tiring for her. "Well, I'll pick you up at 11 in the morning," he said as he approached her, Nagisa. She turned to look him in the eyes, "I love you," and with that she blushed a lot, but Issei only cared about one thing, "I love you with all my soul," and when he was in front of her, he approached her face, and in a very shy kiss they melted into each other. Hugging each other in the deep feelings they felt for each other. When they separated they stayed looking into each other's eyes until the brown-haired boy spoke. "I'll see you tomorrow, Nagisa," he said while taking her hands. "Hi Issei-kun, I'll see you tomorrow at 11 in the morning," said the brunette, smiling a little embarrassed. "I love you Nagisa, rest," said the brown-haired boy as he retreated to his motorcycle, while Nagisa told him to take good care of himself. The brown-haired boy was riding through the streets to his house on his motorcycle when he received a call from Ria's Gremory, so he stopped 2 blocks from his house to answer. "Hello Ice, we need you, it's an emergency. There's a very powerful renegade and we need to defeat him soon. He's already got several victims," said the retard. "I understand where we will meet?" asked the brown-haired boy. "In the occult club room," the retard replied. "Okay, I'm on my way," said the brown-haired boy, hanging up the call to get home soon and from there teleport to the occult club room. Hyoudou City occult club room. Issei had just arrived in a magic circle to the room where Ria's Gremory along with Sona Citri and their respective entourages were waiting for him. "Well, I've arrived," said the brown-haired boy in a serious tone as he was worried about the safety of Nagisa and his friends upon learning of the renegade. "Hyoudou-kun, it's good that you're here. We're in a real crisis. I even think that we should call Vali and his team," said the black-haired girl with glasses. "I understand this is serious," said the brown-haired boy even more seriously. "Ice, this renegade was a prisoner of the Lazarus Pit, which is the worst prison in the underworld. Only ultimate class demons go there and they will only die because they are the worst of the worst. The guy who escaped is at the level of Oni-sama," said the retard, even more serious because this being survived that nightmare place and the worst thing is that he was now at the level of a Mao. "Do we have any clues about his whereabouts?" the brown-haired boy asked even more seriously. "This guy is very powerful and cunning, I think, as much as Rizavam was at the time, and we only know that he is hiding in Kuo, but we do not know his whereabouts, so Hyoudou-kun, we hope that you lend us your power as an ultimate class devil," said the black-haired girl with glasses, sweating coldly, because the demon they would face was literally a beast from the depths of hell. "Ice, that guy has already attacked students from our academy, mainly women, so we must increase our forces. Oni-sama will send some demons, and Shemhazai-sama will send some fallen angels from heaven. They will send reinforcements. I even heard the Cow will come to fight alongside Dog," said the nervous retard as she began to see that Issei was emanating his dragon aura and it was increasing quite a bit. "I will call upon my forces that serve me in the underworld because we will search for that scum even under the last stone. I will not let him get away with it, I will exterminate him," the brown-haired man shouted furiously because that demon represented a danger to his beloved, his friends and his family. But when he realized that everyone was on the ground due to the pressure of his aura he calmed down. "If you don't worry, we'll beat him, we promise," the retard said with difficulty. "I understand that for the moment I will send my forces to investigate," said the brown-haired man, leaving the place. "I've rarely seen Hyoudou-kun like this," said the worried brunette. "He must be worried about his family and friends, he's always been like that," said the retard smiling as she remembered the previous year, she wouldn't say it, but having left the brown-haired boy in the end hurt her. "It must be more because of Nagisa on-chan," Asia said innocently, but this caused everyone to turn to look at her. "It's just that today Ice Nai-chan started dating her," said Asia, who was curious about the expressions on the others' faces. If Yufu Issei-kun has a girlfriend, said Akeno smiling, but deep down she felt a little empty, but even so, she was partly happy because Issei started dating Nagisa, and she appreciated in a certain way the young brunette for making Issei happy. It was to be expected from Issei, he is a good man, I hope he takes good care of Nagisa, said Zenobia with genuine happiness while nodding, because the chestnut has been very precious to her since the day they went shopping. Issei-kun is amazing, said Kiba quite excitedly because the brown-haired boy is his best friend and being happy makes him happy too, I'll congratulate him when I see him again. Issei-senpai and Nagisa-senpai are dating. I'm so happy for them, said the little damper who was no longer a transvestite. Senpai got a girlfriend and it's Nagisa-senpai, how nice, said Kaneko, but deep down she felt pain because despite loving Nagisa, she still felt a special affection for the brown-haired boy, but she had already made her decision and now she had to face the consequences. Ice-kun Nagisa-chan, I wish you all the best. Amen, said the brunette with pigtails and self-proclaimed angel with great happiness. Hyoudou-kun, I'm happy for you, said the citrières happily. Issei-kun, I hope you take care of Nagisa-chan, Roswa said, remembering Nagisa's illness, quite worried. I hope you're happy, said the Riti now as she remembered with nostalgia the previous year, and a small pain in her chest gave way because despite having made her decision to be happy with her current human boyfriend, she couldn't forget everything she lived through and how much she loved a brown-haired boy without having noticed until now that she had shed a tear. I'm happy for you, Ice, she said as she was noticed by the others while smiling. That's not all, Mitsuda-san and Motohama-kun got a girlfriend and they are Kayu-chan and Ryu-chan. That really threw the rest of them off and they went blank after a few seconds. But yes, that's right, everyone except Kiba, Gasper and Asia herself screamed loudly in shock and it was no wonder because that pair of perverts with a girlfriend only meant one thing. It's the end of the world, I'm going to go see my sister and spend time with my parents. Riaz, you should do the same, said Sona Citri sweating cold while she had a terrified expression on her face because the impossible for her happened and that was that pair of perverts had a girlfriend. Sona, I think you exaggerated a little, said Riaz, looking at her with a poker face. You really exaggerated. I think that ice changes people a lot, said Riaz calmly. Yes, that must be so, it makes sense. Hyoudou Issei changes people a lot, just like he did with Vali, so seeing it that way, it's even logical, said the brunette, calmer, although a little nervous. Hyoudou residence. Issei had just arrived home, but with a serious expression, seeing him his parents wanted to ask him what was happening, but Issei immediately activated a holographic call on the floor. Call everyone and tell them it's a high-level emergency to prepare the troops and begin surveillance in the city of Kuo. There is a Mao-level renegade and his extermination is urgent, Issei told a maid with long, light blue hair. Issei-sama, we will send them immediately, said the light blue-haired maid. I want the head of that renegade as soon as possible and tell them that I will also participate in the surveillance of the city every night starting tomorrow, said the brown-haired boy, while the maid nodded and they cut the communication. Then he went to see his parents and told them for no reason go out without company and if possible that it be with Lilith-chan or my other parents. This being is truly dangerous, as much as Rizavam was when he said that the brown-haired boy's parents were scared because they remembered that demon that marked them so much psychologically. After that the brown-haired boy went to take a bath and finally went to bed because the next day he would have a date with his beloved girlfriend. The next day we finally spent a day after 3 episodes XD. The brown-haired boy was dressed in a scarlet red shirt with yellow details, black pants and black shoes at the entrance of his house, ready to go to his date with Nagisa, although if asked he was very nervous, but even so, he already had the date with Nagisa planned, so he requested a driver to go to Nagisa's house and from there go to the date place. Once outside Nagisa's house he entered the bakery. Hello, he said entering. Hello, welcome, it's you, Brad, Nagisa is getting ready to leave, said the light redeed, so tell me, what are you going to do? He closed his eyes as he said that, so the brown-haired boy approached him and whispered. I plan to take her to the amusement park and also to the movies to end up with dinner at a good restaurant, the brown-haired boy whispered, while Akio nodded his head. Take her to the mall sooner, Brat, the redeed whispered. I heard her talking on the phone yesterday and she said that there was a cafe in that place where she went with some friends and that she loved that place, so you know what to do. The brown-haired boy nodded gratefully, but he walked away a few steps showing a grumpy face. Don't even think about taking her to one of those places, because if you do I'll knock you down, the redeed threatened, while a vein appeared on Issei's forehead and he said. I'm not that kind of man, so don't ever insinuate something like that again. I respect Nagisa and I love her very much, but I would never take her to something like that, the brown-haired boy answered in a low voice, but with a seriousness that would freeze the blood of even an ice giant from Niflheim, but it only made Akio smile. Well then we're fine, said the redeed, while Sani came out to greet Issei. Hello, good morning, Issei-kun, Nagisa will be out in a moment, said the older brunette. Good morning Sandy-san, the brown-haired boy greeted Nagisa's mother. I'm happy that my little girl has a date with her boyfriend. Please take good care of Nagisa. Nagisa's mother bowed. If you don't worry, I'll take good care of her. I would never allow anything bad to happen to Nagisa, said the brown-haired boy, blushing a little. I thank you Nagisa, you are my greatest treasure, and now you too, Issei-kun, said the brunette, making the brown-haired boy blush a little. I hope they get married soon. This made the brown-haired boy blush more, while Nagisa's father laughed. But you'll have to wait until you graduate, the redhead said happily. Mom, Nagisa said, embarrassed as she left. Beautiful was what the brown-haired boy managed to say. Since Nagisa was wearing a white dress with yellow details and matching sandals, she blushed a lot upon hearing that. What are you saying, Issei-kun? She said, blushing a lot. It looks good on me, she said, quite nervous. You look beautiful, said the brown-haired boy with a face in love. I agree with Nagisa, said the light redhead. Yes, you look fantastic, said Sanny. So radiant and beautiful that I think I've fallen in love with you again, said the brown-haired boy with an idiotic face. That last thing made Nagisa blush so much that Ria's Gremory's hair looked pale in comparison, while steam came out of her head. When he realized what he said, he also blushed quite a bit. Ahaha, partner, who would have thought you are quite a heartthrob, the Drake mocked in Issei's mind. Drake, I feel nervous, don't make the situation worse, the brown-haired boy answered. You're going to be okay, look, said the dragon, so that Issei could see Nagisa again. You look cute too, Issei-kun, Nagisa said, a little nervous, but with a nice and shy smile. Thank you, he said, and then walked next to Nagisa. Let's go, he offered his arm, which made Nagisa blush a little, but he shyly took Issei by the arm and they retreated to the car. Once in the car, the brown-haired boy opened the door for Nagisa and then he got in, but first he passed a paper note to the driver who, upon reading it, nodded and began to move forward. During the trip, Nagisa held Issei's hand while resting her head on the brunette's chest while humming a song that the brunette knew because it was the one they sang that time at karaoke, so he also began to hum it while putting his free hand on the brunette's head and caressing her hair. This made Nagisa very happy, while in her thoughts she wished to be like this forever. Unfortunately for her, they arrived at their destination, and when she saw the place she smiled a little because it was the shopping center where she spent an afternoon with the Gremory girls, whom she esteemed very much. Upon entering the place, Nagisa got excited to see the clothing stalls, so the brown-haired boy accompanied her to visit the clothing stores where Nagisa tried on some clothes to show them to the brown-haired boy, and in the end he bought them, which embarrassed Nagisa since she planned to pay for them with her own money, but the brown-haired boy went ahead and bought them for her. After going to the women's clothing stores, they went to the men's stores where Issei tried on several t-shirts and shirts that Nagisa brought him, so that in the end she bought them before the brown-haired boy took out his money, and when he asked her why she was alone, she said, I also want to give you things, Issei-kun, to which he gave in and let her be. Once they passed some stalls, they found the cafeteria where Issei invited Nagisa to eat, which made the brunette happy because that was the cafeteria where she hung out with the Gremory girls. When they had their order taken, Issei ordered a ham sandwich and a green tea, while Nagisa ordered a slice of strawberry cake and a lemon juice. When their orders arrived, the brown-haired boy asked Nagisa if the cake was delicious, and she just took the spoon and offered him a little. The brown-haired boy, upon tasting it, said, "It's delicious," with quite a bit of emotion. "And how is the sandwich?" asked the chestnut. "Try a little," he offered her, and she tried a little, saying that it was delicious. The couples eating at the cafeteria as well as those passing by outside upon seeing the couple sighed, since they looked very tender together, so much so that they even took some photos. However, among those passing by outside the establishment were Murayama and Kadis, who upon seeing the couple did not hesitate to take photos and send them to all their acquaintances while they said how good the brown-haired couple looked together. Meanwhile, in the occult club room, she was laughing and the girls in her entourage were talking about the situation of the renegade when Asia received a message on her cell phone, and when she saw it she smiled and said, "Girls, look, this is Ice Nai-san," she said while showing them the image of the brown-haired couple eating in the cafeteria. "I," said Ria, seeing him so happy with the brunette. At the same time she felt a little jealous because she would have liked to be in the same situation with the brunette, but at the same time she felt that she had to try with her boyfriend, but sharing it with Akeno, that situation would be difficult. "Our Ice-kun is such a romantic, isn't he, girls?" said Akeno while smiling, but deep down, she felt a hole in her chest. Even so, she was happy for the brown-haired couple. "I-senpai is happy," Kaneko said with a smile. "Ayani-chan looks happy," Asia said, smiling. "Well, let's get on with it," Zenobia said as the others nodded. Back with the couple. The pair of brown-haired girls left the place holding hands, walking to the car. Once inside, the driver began to drive until they reached an amusement park where the couple got out to enter the place. It must be said that Nagisa smiled like never before in her life, and the brown-haired girl just by looking at her realized that she was happy with the date, so when entering the park, he took her to the carousel where they got on a pair of steeds, one white and the other black where Nagisa got on the white one. So they walked for a while where Nagisa smiled and laughed a little because she was having a wonderful time, while Issei watched her and smiled happily for her. Once the carousel ride was over, both chestnut trees came down happily. "The carousel ride is over," said Nagisa a bit happy. "It seems like it was a lot of fun," said the brown-haired boy laughing a little. "When I'm on the carousel I feel like I'm a princess," said Nagisa quite happily. "Hey, really?" the brown-haired boy asked curiously. "It's a bit childish, isn't it?" said the brunette a little sadly. "No, thinking about you Nagisa, it's very cute," the brown-haired boy said sincerely. "Thank you very much," he said a little shyly. "Which one do we get on now?" asked the brown-haired boy. "Issei-kun, there's actually a place I want to go," Nagisa said, a little embarrassed. "Where?" asked the brown-haired boy. Well, I want to see the hero show," she said, blushing slightly. "The hero show?" I asked with genuine curiosity. "Is there something like that here?" Yes, he answered timidly. "Do you like that hero stuff?" This how to say it, if that's how it is, but if you're not interested Issei-kun we can, but she couldn't finish when she was interrupted by the brown-haired boy. "Okay, let's go," he said, shaking her hand. "Really?" I asked a little excitedly and with a tender look. "Yeah." So the chestnut couple headed to the heroes show where many children, couples and families were gathered in the seats of the place. "Hey, we're close to the stage," said the brown-haired boy. "Wow Issei-kun, the scenery is great, isn't it?" said the brunette excitedly looking at him happily. "Yes, it's quite impressive," he said, looking at her with loving eyes. "Yes," she said, looking at him in the same way. "By the way, the staging is that of the Iron Masked heroes, having the possibility of seeing them so close excites me," said Nagisa excitedly. "Yes, we have good seats," said the brown-haired boy happily. "All the Iron Mask heroes are good, but among them the Red Dragon is the one I like the most, it's my favorite," she said excitedly while inside Issei, a certain Red Emperor Dragon smiled happily, "And you Issei-kun, who is your favorite Iron Masked hero?" "I guess it would also be the Red Dragon," said the brown-haired boy a little nervously since he didn't know about that, while Drake smiled even happier. "I knew it, Issei-kun, it's amazing that you chose the White Dragon's rival," Nagisa said happily, but to Issei this sounded too familiar, "I always liked the Red Dragon more." "I see," he said a little happy while Drake cried with emotion despite knowing what they weren't talking about. "You know a lot about this Nagisa," this made the brunette blush. "Not really, just normal," said Nagisa waving his hands in the negative. The brown-haired boy just hugged her and said, "I understand Nagisa," while she was embarrassed and returned the hug. A moment later the show began with a somewhat peculiar villain, which was a white squid with purple details. "Squid RR, oh we have a lot of energetic little wusses in the audience," the villain said as Issei's voice became familiar to him. "Squid RR, maybe, I the great squid man will kidnap you all and make you my subordinates," as he said that more guys in black squid suits came in, while one of them approached Nagisa to take her to the stage. "Okay, come here," said the guy, taking Nagisa by the wrist. Me?" she said confused. The guy said as he took her to the stage, but Issei felt like he recognized that voice too. I said Nagisa as she was taken to the stage. It must be said that Issei wanted to laugh a little. "Oh, that's bad, one of our friends has been captured by one of the subordinates," said the host of the show. "Hey Squid Man," the children shouted a little annoyed. "You're not going to escape." He suddenly captured Nagisa with a rope. "She'll be a great reserve subordinate, don't you think?" the villain said maliciously while Issei laughed a little at Nagisa's luck. Suddenly a large crystalline cylinder came down from the stage ceiling, enclosing Nagisa inside. "Well then let's make her one of my subordinates," said the squid villain. "Are the preparations ready?" "Please stop," said Nagisa fearfully. "How bad we all have to save our friend, whether we call the Iron Masked heroes," said the presenter of the show. "Give up, no one will come to save her," said the villain. "Let's all call the Iron Masked heroes together," said the presenter. At that Issei felt other presences known to him. "The Iron Masked heroes," the children and Nagisa shouted several times to summon the heroes. At that point, a girl from the staff takes Issei backstage where he sees who the presences belong to, which made him shed a drop of sweat when he saw who they were. "Issei-kun, quickly put on the Iron Masked Red Dragon suit and help us," said none other than the #1 Siskin of all the factions, searches Lucifer. "Come on Issei-kun, we don't have time," said the Mao Leviathan in the hero suit. "Well, I'm here now, so let's go," said the brown-haired boy, putting on his Power Rangers-style hero suit. "Even in a children's show you're my rival, no Hyoudou Issei," said Volley dressed in the White Dragon hero costume. Don't tell me this is advertising for Red Raider Dragon, said the brown-haired boy, while the others turned to the side. I should have imagined it when I felt the presence of Riser Phoenix in the villain of the show. Well, let's get to it, said Issei, putting on the mask of the suit. And so they went out to the stage where Issei had a fight with the Squid Man, defeating him and saving Nagisa, while she turned to the spectator seats and made a sad face when she saw that Issei was not there, but she saw that next to her was her favorite hero, and he approached her and said, "Don't worry, I will always protect you because I am," said Issei, taking off his mask. "The Red Dragon," he said, to see how Nagisa got a little excited seeing her boyfriend on stage as her favorite hero. "But that's not all, because our hero is actually," said the presenter, so that the lights of the place went out and Issei moved away from Nagisa, "the great Red Dragon Raider," she said, so that the lights turned on showing Issei in his balance breaker if his helmet. "Issei-kun," said Nagisa, running to hug the brunette with happiness. "Thank you," she said happily, since she thought that Issei did it for her, which was not so wrong. "I knew you would like a surprise," Issei said happily, although inside he felt guilty for not telling Nagisa that this came out of the blue. "Nagisa, wait for me outside, I have to take off my suit," Issei said as he walked away. Once behind the scenes and without anyone seeing him, he deactivated the balance breaker, leaving him alone with the hero suit, proceeding to take it off and then saying goodbye to the two massive Razor and Volley. Upon returning to Nagisa, she was excited and said how happy she was to be rescued by her favorite hero, which embarrassed Issei a little. After that, they went to a movie theater where they would watch a movie in a private room for the comfort of the brown-haired girls. "What a nice view this room has, don't you think?" said the brown-haired boy, looking out the window and then moving to the armchair in the room. "Yes," said Nagisa, walking to sit next to the brunette, and when doing so they both got a little embarrassed and said at the same time, "I'm going to go get the drinks," said the brunette, while the brunette said, "I'm going to the bathroom." Already in the bathroom, the brunette was washing his face while saying, "What the hell am I doing? I'm not supposed to feel so excited. It's completely natural, buddy, you'll be powerful and whatever you want, but you're still young, and being sexually attracted to your girlfriend isn't something to be ashamed of," said Drake in the brown-haired boy's mind. "That's the problem, Drake, I'm not ready for something like that. Nagisa is very special to me, and I don't want to do something bad to her because of my dragon instincts. I would never forgive myself even if she forgave me," the brown-haired boy answered. "I understand, mate, take care of her, I'll go to sleep, romance movies are not my thing," said the dragon, cutting off the communication. "What's up, boy, are you falling in love with the mirror?" asked a man with dark glasses, white hair and a brown hat. "Do not be afraid to screw up, just go ahead and never stop, believe me, do not be afraid to fail in love, gather courage and go for your beloved." "Good luck," said the subject to leave the place. Obviously Issei understood what he said because of his ability to understand any language on his demon side. Author's note for those who don't know English, the guy said to him, "What's up, kid? You're falling in love with a mirror. Don't be afraid to mess up, just keep going and never stop. Believe me, don't be afraid to fail in love. Gather your courage and go for your beloved. Good luck." After that, Issei returned to the room where Nagisa was waiting for him with the drinks. "Issei-kun, this movie says that after filming it, the relationship between the director and the main actress was revealed. Since they were a couple, the director was able to capture her beauty perfectly on screen. He gained a reputation for it," Nagisa said, quite excited. "Really?" said the brown-haired boy, looking with curiosity at the pamphlet that Nagisa had about the movie, and when he saw it, he was quite impressed because the photo was of the guy who spoke to him in the bathroom. "What's wrong, Issei-kun?" Nagisa asked. "I saw the director in the bathroom a while ago," he said, still impressed. "Really? Then I wonder if the actors came too," she said, equally impressed. "Who knows? Maybe so," said the brown-haired boy happily. "It's because they are a couple, so they are probably together," said the brunette in a loving voice. "Yes," said Issei. After that, the movie was projected and Nagisa couldn't stop watching attentively and quite excited by the beauty of the story. At the end, Nagisa and Issei left the place and got into the car because it was already getting dark, so Issei asked a driver to take them to Nagisa's house to drop her off at home because the day had already been very tiring for both of them, so they would better rest since the next day they would have classes. Upon arriving at Nagisa's house, she was greeted by her parents who told her they would wait inside to give the brown-haired couple some space. "Issei-kun, I had a lot of fun today, it was fantastic," Nagisa said with a smile that made the brunette blush slightly while smiling like a fool. "Yes, it was a great day. I had a lot of fun at the amusement park," said the brown-haired boy. "Yes, and you saved me from the Squid Man," said the brunette, amused. "Yes, and I would do it thousands of times," Issei said, then became a little embarrassed, but Nagisa was red as a tomato. The movie was good too, I like the story," he said, changing the subject. "Yes, but you could see the love with which it was filmed, the director really loves the actress in that film," said the brown-haired man. Yes, Nagisa said, sighing. I wish ours was like that, she said, whispering quietly, being heard by Issei. Well, he imagined that she and Issei were making a love movie with her as the main actress and Issei as the protagonist of that story, so she blushed a lot and tried to run away, saying, Issei-kun, I see you tomorrow at the academy, Nagisa said, wanting to leave hastily, but the brunette took her by the hand and pulled her towards him, hugging her in the act, which made the brunette blush more. Issei-kun, she said awkwardly, while hiding her face in the brunette's chest. I love you, Nagisa, and I will never tire of saying it, I love you, said the brown-haired boy, and then made her raise her face, blushing, but the brown-haired boy did not waste the opportunity and kissed her while hugging her waist, and she clumsily returned the kiss. When they separated, the brown-haired boy said, never doubt it, Nagisa, I will protect you. He said this while remembering the news of the renegade super demon that was in the area. She said softly as she increased the intensity of the hug. They stayed like that for a while until Nagisa's father came out to interrupt taking photos, which caused the brown-haired boys to separate in embarrassment and say goodbye. Nagisa entering his house and the brown-haired boy getting into the car, but before entering, Nagisa turned around and looked at Issei, blushing, saying, Issei-kun, making him look at her. I love you, she said while covering her face with her hands, and entered the house quickly, while the brown-haired boy felt his heartbeat 1,000 times an hour. After that, she retired to her house. Guo City abandoned industrial zone. There was a black-haired man with white locks and a serious look eating a piece of meat while looking at the sky and putting on a serious face while saying, very soon you will die, Sona Citri, and you too, Ria's Gremory. He said the last thing as if it were a roar as he closed his eyes and continued with his thing, eating the piece of meat, while in the background you could see another black-haired man with red eyes, pale skin and pointy ears who looked at the stars while saying, this disgusting piece will end soon. I hope you're ready, Azazel, and you too, Shemhazai, but don't think I'll forget you, celestial dragons. This time, I'll have your heads in my hands, said the man as he extended 4 pairs of black wings, while on his back a pair of scars could be seen right between his wings. Especially you, vanishing dragon. He said this with clear anger in his words. It's good to see you motivated, Kakabiel, said the black-haired guy with white streaks. I say the same, Nasserg of the extinct house Adoinamd, your hatred for those of your own kind is admirable, especially the houses Lucifuge, Gremory, Baal, Phoenix and Citri, said the fallen one with clear hatred for 2 of those houses in particular. You're right, Kakabiel, I won't rest until I have in my hands the heads of all the leaders of those houses, especially yours, searches Gremory. Chapter 11. Trouble and an old friend. It was daytime in the city of Kuo, where you could see several young people walking towards the Kuo Academy, but more specifically a young man with brown hair who was walking with a smile adorning his face as he remembered everything that happened the day before. So when he turned a corner, he met a certain young brunette who had stolen the heart of that young student. Issei-kun, good morning, said the young brunette. Good morning, Nagisa-chan, were you waiting for me? Issei replied. I saw you out of the corner of my eye, so I decided to wait for you to go together, said Nagisa happily. Okay, let's go, Nagisa-chan, he offered his arm to hold hands. Hi, she said, smiling, slightly blushing and taking Issei's hand. They began to walk together and then saw 2 couples in front of them that they knew well, so they greeted them and then continued on their way. Now the 3 couples, while talking about the activities they would have today at the club that they had just opened. Upon arriving at the academy, there was a stir when they saw the once perverted trio now with their respective partners. Before, they would swear that no woman would take them into account, but now that they had changed, the same could no longer be said, as they showed more maturity. At the same entrance, a pair of girls known as the captain and vice captain of the Kendo club were waiting for the couples. Good morning, Nagisa-chan, Kayu-chan, Ryu-chan, said the pink-haired girl, waving. Good morning, Murayama-chan, Katis-chan, Ryu replied quite happily. I can see that they have been tamed, said the brown-haired captain of the Kendo club. This caused the couples to blush at what was said. You know, we saw something cool yesterday, right, Murayama? Said the pink-haired girl with an amused look. You're right, Katis, we'll show them the photo of what we saw, she said with the same look, something that surprised the others. Look, he said, showing them a photo on his cell phone, in which Issei and Nagisa were seen in a cafeteria eating happily. Seeing her, the pair of brunettes blushed, but Issei tried to take the cell phone from Katis, but Murayama blocked his way and said, we already sent it to everyone in the academy, said the brunette with pigtails triumphantly, and that caused Issei to blush even more. Ah, how embarrassing, said Nagisa, approaching Issei while hiding her face in his chest, causing him to blush more. After the embarrassing meeting at the entrance of the academy and Issei having to endure the murmurs that people were saying about the brown-haired couple, they finally arrived at their classroom where the questions were not long in coming, causing Nagisa to end up hugging Issei while hiding her face in the brown-haired man's chest again. And it seemed that place had become the brown-haired man's favorite, since she had the tendency to do it whenever she could. Sometimes the brown-haired man swore that she did it more for pleasure, but he wouldn't say it, since he liked that. After the teacher arrived and things calmed down, he said. "Well, students, today we have a new transfer student," said the teacher. Well, the students wondered if it would be a pretty girl or a boy. The teacher told him to go in and introduce himself, although for Issei he was someone extremely well known. "My name is Vali Morningstar, nice to meet you," said the silver-haired young man, greeting them somewhat inattentively, "and I am Hyoudou Issei's rival," he said without further ado, causing everyone to think a myriad of things. "Explain it to them well, Vali, or they will misunderstand," said the brown-haired boy in a loud voice. "You better wait for this," he said as he raised his hand, raising his fingers one by one until he lowered them all so that all students please proceed to the academy gym in an orderly line. The voice of a certain former governor of the fallen angels was heard. At this, Issei was surprised at what happened, but since it was an academy activity, they would have to go, so the students left in a row with a strange feeling, because there was no important date or something that stood out on this day for them to be called to the academy gym. Upon arriving, they found many chairs in a row, while the members of the current student council helped organize them. When Issei was going to sit in a seat, Azazel took him further forward next to Vali, who had a face that wanted to laugh, and that was beginning to bother the brown-haired boy. For his part, Nagisa had to sit with the rest of his group. Azazel went up to the podium and spoke, "Good morning, students, today you will not have classes." Instead, the academy decided that the students would watch a movie. "Well, without further ado, let's begin," he said as he lowered a large screen big enough for the students to watch. Suddenly some scenes began that the brown-haired boy recognized immediately because he had recorded them. He turned to look at Azazel and Vali, watching them try to contain their laughter, while a vein appeared on his forehead. The scene itself was of a body lying on the ground face up. Just below the body there was a pool of blood. Then a voice was heard over the speakers that everyone in the academy recognized, and when the camera focused on the subject, everyone saw that it was a certain brown-haired man, or in short it was Issei. Nagisa, seeing him in that state, was scared and turned to look at Issei, the real one, to continue watching the movie. "Ah, so this is my end, hey," the brown-haired boy said on the screen. "If you were going to kill me, at least you should have given me a kiss." The brown-haired boy raised his hand stained with his blood. "Heh, what am I thinking, on the verge of death," he said while smiling. "This is the end," he said, so that his hand fell to the ground and his eyes closed. The students, seeing this, looked closely at what was happening and were impressed that the brown-haired boy was the actor they saw on the screen. For his part, Nagisa shed a few tears because he had already gotten into the movie, and seeing his love die at the very beginning hurt him a little. While on the screen, an old gray-haired man looked sadly at the scene in front of him. "Such a young life is going to be wasted. I can't allow that," he said as a green light came out of his hand that healed the wounds of the young man on the ground. "Live young, live, and become one of the Rage Raiders," he said as the title appeared, which was Red Raider Dragon and the Phoenix. The students watched in wonder at the plot of the film, while in their minds they thought one thing in common: Hyoudou Issei was an excellent actor, and they admired him to the point of not even remembering his former reputation, although of course there were exceptions. After that came the final scenes where Issei was fighting against Riser Phoenix, defeating him, and then came the credit scene, while Issei was seen on a motorcycle driving through the desert until the screen went black and then a promotional began. "So one of the leaders of the Crows has said," Issei in front of a man in a black suit. "That's right, I am a reveal, and I will bring war to this world," the subject said, then changed to another scene where Vali appeared outside the Kuo Academy, something that impressed many of the students. "I am Vali the White Dragon, the White Rider Dragon," said the platinum film on the screen. Then another scene was shown in which Azazel appeared, saying, "That's why I would like to hear from the two of them who are not directly related to the main factions, but can affect the world with their power, the Red Rider Dragon and the White Rider Dragon. I would like to know what they think about this." At the same time, another scene was shown. "I'm going to crush you, bastard," Issei said in this scene, while his eyes were covered by his hair, "because my father and my mother must die for your selfishness." At the same time, a tornado of fire formed where he was and a loud voice was heard, "Red Rider Dragon overboost," and Issei was seen with red armor to end the scene. Then the screen went black and a message appeared with the voice of a presenter. "Red Rider Dragon, the series coming soon on Kuo TV." As the movie ended and the lights came on, only a few seconds passed when a general cry of excitement was heard in the place, as many were already waiting for said series, and that was after having barely seen the movie. Issei, Vali along with Azazel went up on stage, while Azazel spoke into a microphone. "And with you the actors of the next series that will be broadcast throughout Japan," he said with excitement, while Issei pretended to be happy, but an incredible dark aura surrounded him and a vein was noticeable on his forehead. Something that was noticed by Vali, who gulped when he saw that his joke went too far this time. "Well, that's all, you can go back to your classrooms and then you can ask Issei or Vali whatever you want," Azazel said while looking at Vali with a smile, and quickly leaving the place. Vali tried to follow him, but Issei put a hand on his shoulder and whispered something that only the supernatural beings in the place heard. Bali, we will meet soon because there are two things we need to talk about, so I'll wait for you in my territory for a meeting. Bring your team, said the brown-haired boy seriously, which made him realize what he was talking about, so he nodded. After that they returned to their classrooms while Nagisa asked Issei since when he was an actor and if recording that program would affect his participation in the club, which he denied since he wanted to spend time in the club and fulfill Nagisa's dream of participating in a play, and so the classes continued a little hectic since several students asked Issei for his autograph, even the teachers. They did while they were giving classes, which made the brown-haired boy a little uncomfortable. Later the brown-haired boy was sitting at the club's desk when he spoke out loud. Good suggestions for a work, said the chestnut. Issei, why don't we do 3 plays where we can all go out? In fact, I have one in mind, said Kiryu with a smile that didn't give the brown-haired boy confidence. Issei-kun, I already told you that I had one in mind, said Nagisa. Well, not counting Nagisa, there are 2 free options left, so I accept suggestions, said the brown-haired boy. Well, I suggest the story of the 3 warrior ladies, Motohama said. Oh, I've read it, it's good, said Sunohara excitedly. Could Kaiju, Fujibayashi-san and Aika-chan act it? Well, we have one, so suggest another, said the brown-haired boy. Well, like I said, I have one in mind and it's called A Pervert and His Perversion, starring the former pervert trio, Aika said, making Issei narrow his eyes and then sigh in defeat at the excited look of all the girls present. Well, you win, Kiryu. So it will be the 3 warrior ladies, A Pervert and His Perversion, and what is the name of the play, Nagisa? I don't know, but I want to call it a fantasy story. In fact, I already have the draft of the story. I'll give you a copy later, Nagisa said, a little nervous. So now, girls of the choir, what do you suggest for your musical performance? Issei asked. We already have the tracks to practice, we just need approval, but unfortunately I left them at home, sorry, Issei-senpai, said the dark blue-haired girl. I understand. Bring them tomorrow without fail to do the review. Remember that we only have a month and 3 weeks to have everything ready, said the brown-haired boy, to which everyone nodded. Well said, the meeting ends, he said as he stood up. Ravel, did you contact the volley to fix a certain matter? Said the brown-haired boy with a smile, although inside he was still upset by the joke. Hi Issei-sama, they are waiting for you at the place, said the blonde phoenix with slight seriousness. Well then let's go, Ravel, well see you later, he said goodbye, but stopped before leaving the room. Nagisa, I'll see you at your house later, said the brown-haired boy with a smile before leaving the place. Underworld Hyoudou territory. In the place were gathered with complete seriousness Azazel, Searches, Seraphol, Volley, along with the entire DXD team, all waiting for the brown-haired man who appeared from a dimensional crack made by the power of Great Red that resides in the Issei-kun, we can start now that you've arrived, said the Retid quite seriously because the problem was severe. As you know, the situation is critical, said Seraphol, sweating a little, because in short, they were screwed by the great threat that loomed over Kuo. Well, in short, we have a serious matter with the renegade demon of the Adorned House, but the situation became more complicated since we recently discovered that he freed Kakabiel from Cocytus, which only makes the situation even worse, but not only that. The bastard has gathered several renegades from all factions and former members of the Cows Brigade in Klepeth, Azazel said seriously while frowning at mentioning the last thing. Not only that, it seems he has several supernatural beings on his side, not counting his blood magic. This guy will bring nothing but trouble, said the Norse god Odin, while he was clearly upset by the use of that terrible blood magic. Be alert at any time, according to the latest reports we received from the patrol teams, they say they will soon be mobilized, said the Mao Beelzebub. Bakabiel, this time I won't be soft, I'm really going to annihilate you, said Volley, hardening his gaze. I'll have to keep more vigilance in Kuo with Rias and Sona, said Issei seriously, while images of his friends and Nagisa with his family came to his mind. I will definitely stop them, he said, while part of his aura filtered, showing the concern he had for all of them. After that they talked about more details about the patrol teams. Kuo City Furukawa Bakery. After the meeting, the chestnut arrived at Nagisa's house entering the bakery. Hello, said the brown-haired boy. But it's ethanol, hahaha, so they showed a movie that you recorded. Who would say that you were acting? You are definitely Kaoru's son, said the light Retid with a smile. I see you're working the bakery alone with Sani-san, the brown-haired boy asked. Giving private lessons, Akio answered while arranging bread. I see, it won't be very hard to work with children. The brown-haired boy asked, causing Akio to momentarily change his expression. Don't worry, that's Annie's real job. She used to be a high school teacher. Really? Wow, why did he leave? The brown-haired boy asked, a little curious. No doubt talking to Nagisa's family helped him cope with the current situation. Well, a lot of things happened, like Nagisa's birth, so he left it for a while, but since we moved to Kuo, he started giving private lessons. I see. At that moment several children began to leave the house towards the bakery passing by Issei, until one of the children looked at him closely. "Hey, who is this guy? Maybe another teacher or an employee," said the boy with glasses. "None of that, hahaha, I'm good, but I didn't finish when Akio interrupted saying out loud. Nagisa's boyfriend the retard said, causing Issei to blush a little. "Are you not the guy from TV?" said another of the children. "Wait, it's true, it's the Red Dragon Rider," said a blonde girl while hugging him by the leg. "A superhero," the rest shouted, rushing towards Issei, hugging him while shouting excitedly. "Issei-kun, it's good that you came," said Nagisa, who arrived with Sani, who watched as the children played with Issei. "Children, give Issei-kun some space, remember to do your homework," said Sani. "Hi sensei, see you later Red Dragon," said the children as they left the place. "Haha, it seems that they are very excited to see a superhero," said Issei, embarrassed. After that they started to have dinner where Issei told them about what the series was about and some ideas that Akio gave him to act a little better. After dinner Issei was going to leave. "Hey Brad," Akio said in a serious tone, "why don't you take Nagisa to your house tonight? He told us that he wants to see little Lilith-chan." That made Nagisa blush, but the brown-haired boy answered. "I'm sorry but they went on a trip and they won't be back for a month." He lied because he had actually sent them to his castle in the underworld for their greater protection and Asia would stay in the new residence of the Gremory clan. "I understand why you don't stay here to sleep then, because alone in your huge house, you might get depressed boy," said the retard smiling. "Hi, stay, Issei-kun. We've already prepared a room. Stay until your parents come back and bring Asia-chan to sleep too," said the younger brunette. About Asia, she wanted to stay at Zenovia's apartment and Irina said something about girls' night, said the brown-haired boy lying again. "I understand." I lowered my gaze a little. "Well, at least you stay here," said Nagisa, looking at him firmly and with determination. "Well, I can't deny you anything, Nagisa-chan," he said as he took her hands. "Well said, let's go Ethanol, I want to play a game of shogi before going to sleep," said the retard. "I hope you can win old man," said Issei in a challenging manner. They played like this for a while until Akio lost while crying in Sani's arms and Nagisa congratulated Issei, which depressed Akio a little more, but considering that Nagisa and Issei were a couple, a smile appeared on his face after that they went to sleep. The next day Nagisa and Issei left the Furukawa residence. "Well, I'm leaving," Nagisa said to his mother. "Take care of yourself," he said with a smile. "I'm leaving, see you later, Sani-san." "Yes, take care of yourself," he said with a smile in the same way. After that they went out to the street where Nagisa's father was watering the plants. "Dad, we're not going," said Nagisa. "Sure, have a good time," said the retard. "I'm leaving, see you later, old man." "Of course, good luck," and with everything that made a drop of sweat come out of the chestnut's neck. After that they started walking together side by side. "I was a little embarrassed, but they fired us in a very natural way," said the brown-haired man. "It's fun that we go to the academy together from my house," said Nagisa. "Although I'm still a little embarrassed by the way people look at us," said the brown-haired boy, listening with his dragon senses as people made comments like "what a cute couple" or "it reminds me of my school days," which embarrassed the brown-haired boy a little. After all, he spent a year in the supernatural, so such a normal coexistence was strange for him. "Me too, a little bit, but thanks to you I've been able to have a little more confidence in many things. I'll do my best from today until the Founders Festival," he said happily as he smiled at the brown-haired boy. "Yes, that's what it's about," said the brown-haired boy, excited. "Hi," said Nagisa smiling. After that they arrived at the academy where the classes went as normal as possible, although the guy who talked every 5 minutes about the rivalry between them did not help at all. Once classes were over, the theater and choir club met where Azazel brought clothing for the club. The wardrobe guys take care of the costumes and such, while the sound guys take care of the music and sound effects, the lighting guys take care of the lighting levels on stage, so divide up the work and good luck, said the fallen guy as he walked out the door to who knows where. "It's very complicated," said Aika. "It seems we'll have to divide up the tasks," Ryu said. "You can take care of the sound, no Ryu," said Kai. "It seems quite complicated," said Volley next to Issei. "What are you doing here?" asked the brown-haired boy. "I was curious about what the drama club did and I had nothing else to do," the silver-haired boy said simply. "You always have free time, Volley," she said, looking at him with her eyes half closed. At that moment a cell phone rings, it is Sunohara's, who upon seeing the sender answers immediately, leaving everyone curious. "Okazaki, how have you been?" said the blonde while Caillou frowned slightly. "I see you got into a fight with your father again," the blonde answered. "Yes, where am I? In the Kuo Academy Drama Club. Why?" Then he showed a surprised expression. "So you came to Kuo for the break period they have before the Hikarizaka Academy Founders Festival, huh?" Then he showed a more surprised face. "And you come with your girlfriend? That is crazy, I thought you would stay single your whole Life. Then he frowned and said, for your information, I have a girlfriend and her name is Aika Kiryu and she is the most beautiful and tender girl on the planet. You will see, I will introduce her to you. Then he softened his expressions a little without noticing that behind him, a very blushing Aika was happy to hear her boyfriend talk about her like that. Let me ask Issei if he knows a good place. Hey Issei, do you know a good place to meet with a friend of mine, he said, turning to look at the brown-haired boy. It could be at my house, Sonohara, so we can talk more about the club while you leave. I'll contact the maids to get everything ready, said the brown-haired boy as he took out his phone and left the room. For his part, Volley watched everything with a monotonous expression because these things didn't interest him that much. Well, we'll meet at the address I'm going to send you and you'll see that you'll be surprised to see Aika-chan. After that he hung up the call, seeing how everyone was looking at him, especially Caillou and Ryu, who were not so happy to see the blonde's friend, while Nagisa had some doubts since that name sounded familiar to him. For his part, Issei upon entering noticed the atmosphere, so he decided to speak. This meeting will serve for several things, especially for the five of you to fix things and what led to the current situation, said Issei looking at Sonohara, Caillou, Ryu and Nagisa, who looked at him with doubt, more than anyone else Nagisa, who didn't know what it was about. Well, let's go. Are you coming or are you staying, Volley? Asked the brown-haired boy. I'm staying, I still have to meet with Azazel and the others later, answered the silver-haired man. Well, let's go, said the brown-haired boy while the others followed him, including the chorus girls, who were curious about what their senpai's house was like. For her part, Ravel was curious about what Issei was referring to. Once they left the academy they went to the brown-haired boy's house. For their part Mitsuda and Motohama were holding hands with their girlfriends, trying to calm them down a little because they felt nervous, and Sonohara was next to Aika, who was still blushing because of what Sonohara had said. The chorus girls were talking about what their senpai's house would be like, while they watched him walk next to Nagisa holding hands, while Nagisa smiled and Issei looked happy, although for a second he frowned slightly and then sneezed. Did you feel that, Drake? Someone was watching us, the brown-haired boy mentally said to the Scarlet Dragon. I felt it, partner, someone was definitely watching us. I'll be attentive to everything. In the worst case, use that spell you learned to leave your friends unconscious and transport them through a dimensional gap to the mansion, Drake answered, clearly serious, because that sensation he felt was totally hostile. Understood, thanks mate. After that they arrived at the brown-haired boy's house, and it must be said that his Kauhai were stupefied at what they saw, because literally their senpai's house was a huge 6-story mansion. It must be said that their surprise was greater when they saw the maids of the place receiving them and taking them to the living room, where they waited until the blonde's friend arrived, which did not take long since a few minutes later, Sonohara received a call and left the house with Issei to meet Okazaki and solve the conflict that Caillou and Ryu had with him and Sonohara. Hello Okazaki, how are you? Said the blonde, happily greeting a boy with dark blue hair and eyes of the same color next to a girl with violet blue hair and violet eyes and a neutral look, although slightly surprised by the huge house that was in front of her. Hey Sonohara, your friend really has a huge house. It's a pleasure. I'm Okazaki Tomoya. It's a pleasure. Come on, introduce yourself, said the blue-haired man to look at the girl next to him, who nodded and looked at Sonohara and Issei. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Ichinusuke Tomi from class 3 of Hikarizaka High School. My hobby is reading. I would like you to be my friends. I'm Hyoudou Issei, a third-year student at Kuo Academy. A pleasure, said the brown-haired boy. I'm Sonohara Yahei, Okazaki's friend. It's a pleasure, the blonde introduced himself. Well, let's go meet up with the rest of us. Come in and make yourself at home, said the brown-haired boy while the others followed him. Kuo City, unknown area. A certain black-haired man with white streaks looked on in ecstasy as a macabre smile marked his face as he admired his beautiful work of art. He basically admired with devotion the corpse of that unfortunate renegade demon who had the stupidity to challenge him, which was in a totally unnatural and grotesque form, as if one of the worst nightmares of the sickest, most disturbed and disgusting person in the world had come true. You certainly like to do sick things, Nasserg, although seeing it from a certain angle, even I find it charming, he said, another black-haired man with red eyes in a mocking tone. In fact, turn your head a little more to the left and you will understand the concept a little more, said the super demon. I see, he said, moving his head slightly to the left and then smiling. Hahaha, now I understand, hahaha, honestly it's a work of art, hahaha. The fallen man laughed with a macabre smile. By the way, the troops are almost ready, but you know, if you want your revenge, here you have a gift, said the demon, taking some photos out of his pocket. If you want revenge on the Sekiryuite, these people you must kill, although he said, showing one in particular being this one of Nagisa next to Issei holding hands. She will be the one I will kill, hahaha. I want to see her expression when she dies. Haha, I just hope she doesn't start crying and lamenting her death, because if she does my heart will hurt to see her like that, so I will have to gather them, lol. He laughed like a maniac, while Kakebia looked attentively at the photos, being these of Mitsuda and Motohama. HMP, this time I won't be so gentle, besides now I'm stronger, hahaha. He laughed in a macabre way, while a symbol was marked on his forehead, this being a seal of strange shape, dark purple in color. Chapter 12 Revelations. A tense atmosphere was felt in the Hyoudou residence, as the Fujibayashi twins were not very comfortable with the presence of the young Tomoe, who had a tense expression for the same reason, while his girlfriend took his hand so that he could face the situation in front of him, was Issei next to Nagisa, who did not understand what was happening, and on the other side of Issei was Sunohara, who had a serious expression. Nagisa-san, we owe you an apology, declared the blonde. Hey, what are you talking about, Sunohara-san? The brunette replied. We are responsible for that incident a year ago, said the blue-haired man now. Tomoya, Sunohara, Ryu and I were the ones to blame for that joke you fell for a year ago, although we were only indirectly involved, Caillou said, somewhat sadly, before saying the last part with annoyance. At that moment Sunohara stands up and bows to Nagisa. Nagisa-san, forgive me for that joke that time, it was not my intention that you would go to the hospital for that, it is not even Okazaki's fault, it was all my idea, I'm sorry, he said as he knelt down, and then lowered his head to the ground. At that moment Caillou and Ryu were impressed by what Sunohara said. No, Sunohara, it's also my fault that I participated in this, Furukawa-san, forgive me for that time, I'm extremely sorry, said the blue-haired man, as he knelt down and put his head on the ground, which made Nagisa quite uncomfortable. There's no need for you to apologize. I had already forgiven you a long time ago, although I didn't know you at the time, said the brunette. Please raise your heads. In fact, I would like to thank you for what happened. This threw everyone off balance, but before anyone could speak, Nagisa continued. It's true that I lost a school year and lost some friends, but I've gained something more important, she said as she took Issei's hands, staring at him with a smile. I've undoubtedly gained something invaluable, the brunette finished. In that case I agree with Nagisa, I have lost friends in Hikarizaka, but I gained something much more valuable in Kuo, said Caillou, while Ryu nodded. Next to each one were Mitsuda and Motohama holding their hands. I want to ask you something, Okazaki-san, said Issei, do you have somewhere to stay tonight? He asked with utmost seriousness, something that generated doubts in the others, because although Issei was more serious than before, he was generally a calm person, but seeing him with a completely serious face was something extremely rare. I was thinking of staying in a hotel in the city center. Why do you ask, Hyoudou-san? Said the blue-haired man. Stay at my house as long as you need, in fact you too, Sunohara, since you are paying rent and your situation well you already know, so I offer you to stay too, besides I have empty rooms, to be honest, there are many, and living alone is a nuisance, he said, the last thing softening his face. In that case I appreciate your hospitality, said the blue-haired man, bowing next to his girlfriend. I really appreciate it, Issei-san, Katomi said. You're welcome, replied the brown-haired boy. Issei, that's true. Will you let me stay at your house? Said the blonde while his hair covered his eyes. If anything, for a friend, Sunohara, you are welcome, and I already have a position secured for you in my company, said the brown-haired boy with a smile. The blonde was heard sobbing in response as a drop fell to the ground. It came from the blonde's face, who was crying silently while standing while his hair covered his eyes, and then looked up at Issei and said thank you. It must be said that everyone was moved by what was happening until a call was heard coming from Issei's phone. What's happening, Asia? Is everything okay? Asked the brown-haired boy. Nai-san, they are attacking us in Gremory territory. Apparently they are former members of the Cows Brigade. We are in the middle of combat. We need your help, said the blonde from the phone. I'll be right there, he said as he hung up the call. Take care of them and whatever they need, the brown-haired boy said in a serious tone to his maids. Nagisa, guys, I'll be back later. A big problem came up at the company. I'll be back later. After that, he left the house, leaving everyone surprised. Underworld Gremory territory. The members of the DXD can be seen fighting against several former members of the Cows Brigade, who had a strange magic symbol on their foreheads, which stood out a lot. It's the Sekiryuite attack, said one of them upon seeing Issei arrive in a dimensional gap. I shouted one of them as he headed towards Issei at full speed with a spear, but the problem was the liquid that the spear possessed, being the Samel's blood. Where did you get that? Issei said in a serious tone as he stopped the spear with one hand as if it were nothing. Impossible, that should kill you, said the subject. Not really, Issei said as he showed that he used magic to avoid direct contact. Once you try its effects you learn new tricks. After that he destroyed the spear and grabbed the subject by the neck, and well, who gave them this, he said in a threatening tone. A voice was heard in the sky at the same time as 4 pairs of black wings and a powerful aura were present. Your time has come, Sekiryuite, but don't worry, I have a little surprise for you, hahaha. Now I am much more powerful than before, he said to launch himself against Issei and give him a kick that sent him towards a mountain, destroying it on the spot and then falling to the ground looking. Ekakabiel angrily. Balance breaker, said Issei as the armor made an appearance, and he launched himself at Kakabiel. How the hell did you get so strong, said the brown-haired boy as Kakabiel pointed to his forehead, making his answer obvious. And what do you think, Sekiryuite? Why would that be? Maybe my hatred towards you and the target. He said mockingly and then was hit by a kick in the face which came from his right side, throwing him away. I should have killed you when I could, said Volley with his armor on. Be prepared, this time you're going to die, he said, raising his hand. I'd, said Albion, but nothing happened. What? How is this possible? Said Volley. The sacred gears are now useless against me, and all thanks to your grandfather, and Nasrg, hahaha, said Kakabiel in the air, laughing. Now die, Hakuryuko, saying that he hit Volley with his fist, throwing him away. You should be more careful, Sekiryuite, there are enemies who know your greatest weakness more than anyone else, he said in a mocking tone, showing some photos to Issei, who became enraged. When he saw them, because in them he appeared with Nagisa and the others from the drama club. Get away from them, damn it, he said, launching himself against Kakabiel, making several increases at the same time and hitting him in the stomach, throwing him away so that Volley would return him with a kick to where Issei was and he would hit him in the chin, throwing him upwards. His blows are weak against me, said Kakabiel as a violet aura covered him. Feel the combined power of AI. Grendel, laden and Apophis, haha, he said, laughing as the fallen man released more power. L, said Issei, starting to increase his aura. Diabolos, dragon god, shouted Issei as said armor appeared in the. We will have to fight together, Hyoudou, that power is. Yes, the one with the evil dragons, Issei said in a serious tone. But that said, Volley began the dragon Diabolos chant while Issei fought Kakabiel. Get away from me, Nagisa, Issei shouted furiously. Ahaha, that's your weakness, her and your parents, the fallen one said mockingly, while Issei became more and more enraged. Punches and kicks came and went until Volley arrived. Kakabiel, Longinus Lucifer Blaster, shouted Volley as a huge beam of energy came out of the gems of the Diabolos dragon, while Kakabiel stopped the attack with one hand. Absolute divide curse. Divide was heard and this time Kakabiel did lose half of his powers while Volley's attack gained power. Ahaha, that can't hurt, Hakuryuko, this is the end, said Kakabiel as he regained his strength again as if nothing had happened. Take this, Kakabiel, said Issei. Infinite Blaster, Longinus Smasher. I, said Issei as his attack combined with Volley's becoming more powerful, but even so, Kakabiel only used one hand to stop him. Damn curse, the brown-haired boy shouted in anger. Penetrate, said Drake, and the attack hit Kakabiel, directly damaging him slightly. Damn Sekiryuite, damn Hakuryuko, the fallen said in anger, while a magic communication circle appeared in his ear and he smiled evilly. Hahaha, it's time to show you, Sekiryuite, because you're just a miserable idiot. At that moment, Kakabiel raised his aura even more and charged Issei, throwing himself against the ground, holding his head, crashing hard, but suddenly he felt a horrible pain and found himself several meters in the air, seeing Issei standing with his fist towards him. I'm going to kill you, Kakabiel, I'm going to kill you for threatening me using my friends and especially my beloved Nagisa, shouted Issei, flying even faster against Kakabiel to give him a kick to the chin and then give him another in the back of the neck, throwing him against Volley, who attacked him in a combination of punches and stops to grab him by one leg and throw him to the ground while firing several dragon shoot and demonic energy attacks. I already told you, your sacred gear attacks are not effective, I learned a certain trick from Rizavam, hahaha, said the fallen one mockingly. It's impossible, Rizavam is dead, Volley said angrily. You are wrong, my dear grandson, Volley heard behind him the voice of that damn madman whom he hated so much. Volley turned back, looking him straight in the eyes and saying with obvious rage, Rizavam, and then launched himself at him and hit him only to lose his armor suddenly. You forget, my dear grandson, your attacks are useless, but then he vomited blood. What the heck, he said, bewildered. You actually thought I would always be infallible. I'll tell you a secret of the Sekiryuite and mine. He showed a confident smile as the Diabolos dragon armor recovered. We took advantage of the connection of the sacred gear to use each other's powers, he said, hitting Rizavam, while Issei's armor was heard saying Drake's special ability penetrate. What the hell, Kakabiel, retreat, said Rizavam seriously and passing by the aforementioned. See you, Sekiryuite, hahaha, he laughed with clear evil as they disappeared in a black flash which baffled Volley and infuriated Issei. After that they returned with the others while they destroyed the remaining former members of the Cows Brigade, which were already very few, so they did not take long to eliminate them. Nice, and Asia said happily, hugging him. Kakabiel and Rizavam escaped, said the brown-haired boy, clearly angry, making Asia let go of him. What? Rizavam is dead. How is that possible? Ria said in shock. The bastard surely used a clone of himself to fool us. After all, the bastard has always been very clever, said Volley, quite furious. I must inform my Ani-sama, said Riaz. I'm already aware of it, Riaz, said the Crimson Satan as he emerged from a magic circle. That damned Rizavam has returned, he said, quite annoyed. This time I'm going to kill him with my own hand, said Vali. I will kill Kakabiel, and that Nasrg, said the brown-haired boy while his eyes were covered by his hair. No one threatens my Nagisa, he said angrily, something that surprised everyone, especially because of the mention of the brown-haired boy, something that infuriated the others. Well done, Surziches didn't finish speaking when a maid came out of a magic circle that Issei immediately recognized. She was seriously injured and looked into his eyes with tears. I'm sorry, Issei-sama, we couldn't stop them, there were too many of them, and they were too powerful. They took Nagisa Oju-sama and her friends, said the maid as she fell unconscious. Ice, said Riaz in a low tone with clear sadness in her eyes. It's my fault if I hadn't called Ice Nai-san for sure, Nagisa-chan, but he couldn't finish when everyone except for Vali and Surziches, who could barely stand, were left on the ground by the powerful aura that Issei gave off. Bakabiel, Nasrg, Rizvam, I'm going to kill them, the brown-haired boy shouted in complete anger. Will the Diabolos dragon god made an appearance, I won't even leave their damn ashes. Hyoudou Issei, we're definitely going to kill them, but calm down, you're hurting the others, Vali said, barely holding on to his armor, while Surziches did everything possible to stay standing. At that moment Issei stopped emitting his aura and opened a dimensional gap to the Hyoudou residence. Human world Hyoudou residence. Issei and company entered the Hyoudou residence only to find something that made their blood run cold, and that was that in the place all the maids were dead on the ground, with blood stakes in their chests and clear wounds from a strong fight. This only infuriated Issei more until he found a note on the ground that said, "Dear stupid Sekiryuite, as you might have noticed unless you're an idiot, we have your beloved Furukawa Nagisa, your two inseparable friends Yasuaki Mitsuda and Takumi Motohama. We also took their partners Fujibayashi Ryu and Kayu, along with a couple of idiots Sunohara Yahei and Kiryu Aika. Oh, I almost forgot, we also took the blue-haired couple. Haha, you should have seen how they peed themselves in fear when they saw fallen angels and demons killing the maids of the place. Haha, it was incredible to see how they cried without being able to do anything. Yes, I almost forgot, we took the trio of the chorus and little Ravel Phoenix. If you want to get them back, I'll be waiting for you in the abandoned industrial zone of the city with love and affection, your friend Nasrg. See you, idiot," said the note written in blood, and next to it, a fallen angel feather and a wine glass with blood inside. "I'll go kill him," Issei said while his hair covered his eyes. "You're wrong, Hyoudou Issei, we'll all go," Surziches said as he made a magic circle for everyone to go. "A fight is already waiting for us, so give it your all." "We will make him pay, Ani-sama," said Riaz as her aura covered her, but she was not the only one since Akeno and the other girls as well as Issei and Vali gave off their aura. "They will pay for what they have done," said this time Riser Phoenix, who was in the fight defending the Gremory territory. "We will show them the true terror of those imbeciles," said Tobio next to his faithful friend and sacred gear, Jin the Canis Lyakin. "This time we will finish it," said Cao Cao with his true longiness. "Okay, let's go," Issei said, clearly upset. "Come on, son," a voice was heard that the brown-haired boy recognized, and when he looked at it, he saw his car called father, the big red one in his humanoid form. "We will not let him hurt my daughter-in-law," said Office, clearly upset. But that said, some entered the magic circle and others entered the dimensional gap that Issei opened. Guo City Industrial Zone. All the members of the DXD team were arriving at that area along with the leaders of the alliance, all ready for combat. As soon as they arrived, they were greeted by an army of renegades from the factions who did not hesitate for a moment to attack them, casting all kinds of spells. Hiba, Zenobia, Irina, Dulio, Tobio, Cao Cao and Issei launched a counterattack, with Issei being the most lethal of all, as he was killing them quickly to reach Nagisa. For his part, Azazel attacked the renegades with his spears of light, killing them instantly, while he watched Issei in fury with his balance breaker armor and his Ascalon sword, continuously attacking the renegades who could do nothing against the enraged dragon. But Nagisa and company. While that was happening, Nagisa was crying because just a few hours ago everything was happiness, and now she was captive next to her friends who were hurt and wondering what had happened. They clearly did not understand what was happening. "What the hell are those things? Those wings were like..." Sunohara couldn't finish saying it when Kayu screamed. "As you want us to know, they killed all the maids in the place and brought us here with some kind of magic." I'm afraid, where the hell are you?" Issei Kayu exploded while hugging his unconscious sister who was knocked unconscious at the start of the kidnapping, so she didn't see what happened to the maids unlike her sister and the others. What are you up to?" Issei Mitsuda said, feeling helpless not to be able to do anything. "We must get out of here before the guards come back," Motohama said. "I don't think we can do anything, guys, those things don't seem to be from this world," said Sunohara. "Issei is going to save us," Nagisa said in a low voice. "I don't think so, Nagisa, Issei is just a high school boy, he's not," Kayu said, but was interrupted by Nagisa herself. "He will do it, I know it, he will come for us, I trust him, he will save us with his red armor," said Nagisa unusually calm. "Nagisa, that was just a movie." He's not going to save us with armor that she was interrupted again. I saw it, the brunette shouted, making everyone look at her. On our date in the park he made the armor appear out of nowhere. He doesn't know that I saw him do it separately. She took out her smartphone and showed them a video where the dragon Diabolos was fighting against the Trihexa. He saved us before this thing. He was fighting back then near my hometown. I was in bed due to my illness, so when I saw that thing I took out my digital camera and recorded everything, but I don't remember the rest, she said, lowering her head sadly. She's right, Ravel spoke this time, drawing everyone's attention, including Tomoya, who watched in silence. Issei-senpai did that 6 months ago, I know because I was there. But how? Isn't he just an actor? Caillou asked. Issei-senpai uses a sacred artifact called sacred gear. He was born with it, and the name of that sacred gear is boosted gear, which is a red glove that doubles its power every 10 seconds. He turned to look at Nagisa. The armor he used in the movie is his next form, which allows him to break the 10-second barrier. Then he looked in front of the others. The armor in the video is his most powerful form, which uses the power of the dragon gods. So he's not human, Tomoya said. He's something else, right? Issei-senpai was human at the beginning, she said, pausing as she saw the surprise on the others' faces. He died and was turned into a demon. This made them look at her directly. How do you know? Are you? Tomoya asked. I am a demon of the Phoenix clan, said the blonde, taking out her wings. Senpai died a second time, saving the dragon goddess of infinity, losing her body in the act. This made Nagisa shed a few tears. The two dragon gods granted him a new body made of their power, their blood and their flesh. So what is now? Tomoya asked quite seriously. A dragon, more precisely a dragon god, although he cannot yet use all that power. And it's because of you that we've been involved in this, right? Tomoya shouted. They almost killed Kotomi for this, he said furiously, but it was Kotomi's hand that calmed him down. That doesn't bother me, Tomoya-kun, Kotomi said calmly despite the slight injuries. I don't think it's his fault. I think he didn't know. Maybe you're right, Kotomi, sorry I got so worked up, said the blue-haired man. Author's note: Ravel is in his second year while the choir students are in their first year. Ravel-senpai, could you tell us more about Issei-senpai? Asked one of the chorus girls. Yes, I'm curious too, said Nagisa. Well, I'll tell you from the beginning, Ravel said. Chapter 13: The Wrath of a Dragon God. On the battlefield, no one could believe what they were seeing, as Issei literally mercilessly massacred the renegades of the factions, cutting them in half with Ascalon in hand. For his part, Volley supported with magical attacks in the air, while Tobio did so from the shadows, attacking by surprise. Cao Cao was very direct, as was Sareog, who advanced as fast as Issei was going until they encountered a huge minotaur, who had two huge swords ready to use them, so without further ado, he launched himself at Issei, but Cao Cao intercepted him. I do, I'll take care of it, you go get them, said Cao Cao, receiving a nod from Issei. While Cao Cao was fighting very evenly against the Minotaur, Sareog was facing a powerful Hydra which was beginning to cause him problems, so he used the balance breaker of his sacred gear pawn to fight the Hydra more easily. Volley, for his part, began to face dozens of low-ranking evil dragons. Without any difficulty Volley began to defeat them, but there were more and more evil dragons, and they were getting stronger, so showing off his power, he annihilated them in a single attack, although luck was not on his side as more evil dragons began to arrive. Riaz and her entourage faced several renegade demons and the vast majority of high class, but clearly those were no longer rivals for the Gremory, since for obvious reasons they were much more powerful than a year ago, and everything they went through was not in vain. Riser Phoenix was more than furious, so much so that he used his new fire armor, with which none of his adversaries could withstand a single attack, since it incinerated them upon touching due to the immense heat it gave off. He only had one thing in mind, and that was to save his little sister before it was too late. When Issei least expected it, he was near the warehouse where they had Nagisa, so he began to advance faster, but stopped when he saw something he wished never to see. Nagisa was badly injured and near her were the others, although in the case of Tomoya and Kotomi, they were unconscious and with slight injuries. Caillou held Mitsuda in his lap. He had a pair of metal gloves with spikes on them, and despite the terrible state he was in, he still gave off a lot of power from those gloves that were his sacred gear. But what really made him angry was Ryu crying silently while hugging Motohama, who was holding a black sword with green lines, but it was clear why Ryu was holding on tightly to Motohama, and it was that the boy with glasses had died in combat. On the other hand, Ravel walked towards Issei with her gaze down and tears falling down her cheeks because the boy with glasses died while trying to protect her and Ryu. Nagisa began to run towards Issei, while he saw how a spear of demonic power advanced towards her. Without hesitating for a second he protected her in his arms, and with his dragon wings, he destroyed the attack without problems. Then he looked at the perpetrator of said attack. Wow, what a stupid Sekiryuite you came, dear friend, said Nasrg with clear mockery on his face. Oh, don't tell me you're sad about the death of that damn imbecile of your beloved friend. Hahaha, he said while tears ran down his cheeks. The very imbecile wanted to defend them and died, he said with joy while still crying. Nagisa hugged Issei tightly and said to him, Ravel-san told us everything about you, but there are things that I already knew, even so I love you Ice, said the brunette, as if she knew the pain that the brunette suffered when showing him his true power and the fact of not being human. You ignore me, you idiot. Well, I'll continue with the bald guy and finally with that idiot blonde who is holding that brown-haired bitch, said Nasrg, who upon seeing Issei realized that Kiryu, the one who was his friend for years, had also died. Riaz and her entourage soon arrived next to Issei and formed a defensive barrier. Asia cried silently over Aika's death while healing everyone. Kiba, meanwhile, was enraged to see Sunohara cry over the death of his beloved brunette who had a wound in her abdomen. Senpai Gasper called the brown-haired boy's attention and Nagisa-chan, he said in a hurt voice, making the brown-haired boy look at his beloved only to see in detail that she was pale. Oh, I forgot to say it, Nasrg said as if he remembered something important and then took out a certain dango bracelet from his pocket. I took this stupid and silly bracelet from him, he said with a happy smile, and I altered his magic reserves to speed up. He made a dramatic pause. You already know that, he said with a serious voice and a maniac smile. Play Ost. At that moment Issei felt his blood boil. He looked at Nagisa and she told him. Ice-kun, I feel tired, she said quietly, can I rest a little? Nagisa said as she put her hand on the brown-haired boy's cheek. Nagisa Arena said in tears. Damn it Gasper Kaneko, let's save her, Akeno said in desperation. Nagisa, hold on, Nagisa, the brown-haired boy said in a weak and fragile voice. Something else, tell me something else, the brown-haired boy said in tears. Can you listen to me, come on, he said, becoming more and more fragile. We have to participate in the academy play, he continued, becoming more and more fragile. Come on Nagisa, hold on a little. Everything will be okay, I promise. The brown-haired boy was losing more and more color. Come on, we have a lot of things to do, like dating. I want to take you to the beach on vacation after the festival. Issei was crying profusely, while Asia, Kaneko, Gasper and Akeno realized something. Nagisa. The brown-haired boy looked at his beloved as he watched Nagisa's hand leave his cheek. A fragile breeze moved his hair. Furukawa Nagisa had passed away. Issei began to remember everything they had experienced in just a week and a few days. The karaoke, the first dinner at Nagisa's house, the incident with the thugs, the visit to the hospital, the time Caillou ran him over with his scooter, the time he stayed at Nagisa's house with Lilith, the basketball game, the incident with the tennis player, the second trip to karaoke, the baseball game, his declaration to Nagisa, the date they had at the amusement park. The promise he made to her at said park, the movie they saw together, the second time he stayed at Nagisa's house, the time she snuggled up to his chest. Several tears fell down her cheeks as she remembered when they met on the bridge on the way to the academy, but nothing can stay like this forever. Happy moments, sad moments, it's inevitable that all of that will change. Still, can you still like this place? Stop Ost. At that moment he laid Nagisa down on the cold ground and something happened that no one expected. Drake growled from inside the boosted gear with quite a bit of anger. Issei began to walk until he got out of the barrier and it suddenly strengthened while Issei had his boosted gear shining with Drake growling. At that moment Kakabiel and Rizavam arrived with a clear smile on their faces, although it disappeared when they saw Office and Great Red carrying Nagisa's lifeless body with clear anger on their faces. Wow, they got angry about that idiot's death, Nasrg said mockingly, although tears were falling down his cheeks. What idiocy, he said with a furious smile. I'm going to destroy you, damn it, said Office with clear anger. You will die, demon, said Great Red. But everyone fell silent when they saw the following. Gruoia roared Issei and Drake in such a way that even Great Red felt intimidated. The armor of the Diabolos dragon god made an appearance, but then something else happened. Several red spheres began to surround Issei as he gave off a blood-red aura and the gems on the armor turned white. The one who woke up was heard from everyone at once and several different voices. The others knew what it was and were worried. It must be said that everything trembled, the air moved with intense violence, and intense pressure was felt. I am the red dragon that stole the voices suddenly fell silent, and the spheres were destroyed with just a movement of Issei's hands. The helmet of the armor broke and left everyone surprised as Issei's head left all traces of humanity, being this one of a red dragon with bright emerald eyes and a look full of anger. It was like seeing Drake alive again. Author's note. Play the heaviest song you know. Ahaha, you are a monster. Do you really think you could have a love relationship with that stupid? In just a thousandth of a second, that enormous mountain that stood out so much in the city of Kuo ceased to exist. A huge crater was what there was now, and in the bottom, a disfigured face of Nasrg was in the Nasrg is looking for it. Rizavam did not finish saying when he found himself buried in one of the mountains of Kuo, right on one of the sides with a huge crater behind him. Issei appeared in an instant in front of him, and suddenly he was next to Nasrg, who was barely getting up. Damn, said Kakabiel, increasing his power with the power of the evil dragons. He shot into the air and then fell where Rizavam and Nasrg were, who also used the power of the evil dragons. This bastard, said Nasrg as the symbol of the Trihexa appeared on his forehead, and his power suddenly increased to an absurd level. I will kill you with the power of the dragon god of the apocalypse, he shouted in anger with a smile, as an evil aura surrounded him. He launched himself against the brown-haired man, and their fists collided. The world was shaking, the skies were darkening, thunder was falling all over the world, and it was not the only place. The underworld was also shaking. In fact, all the mythological kingdoms were doing so. Indra felt small now. Shiva was afraid of the chestnut tree for the first time. Back to the battle. Nasrg firsthand sight the true pain, and it was because his arm was destroyed upon contact with the now furious humanoid dragon, as the armor of the dragon Diabolos could not withstand the power revealing Issei's new appearance. It was a humanoid dragon in every sense of the word. He attacked Nasrg, who could do little against the fury of the humanoid dragon, so he chose to use his blood magic, creating spears of it to try to hurt Issei and hopefully kill him, but everything went to hell when they hit Issei without causing him any damage. Rizavam was afraid, however. He decided to risk his life on an idea he had, so he attacked the brown-haired boy with force. While they clashed their fists, Rizavam used his sacred gear canceller, but soon he saw his arm explode, and he flew away until he crashed against the ground, looking at the imposing red dragon that looked at him with fury. Kakabiel, for his part, decided to fly quite high and charge all the power of the evil dragons. At the same time that the symbol of the Trihexa appeared on his forehead next to the other symbols, he charged an attack of pure energy against the dragon and was soon helped by Nasrg, who with his only arm, helped Kakabiel to make the sphere of energy increasingly larger and more powerful. At this point everyone looked at that sphere with fear because it had the power to destroy the planet with ease, and it got worse when Rizavam joined them, creating a massive sphere of pure power which they threw towards the dragon. Suddenly the cannons of the Diabolos dragon god appeared and charged an attack of pure energy at that moment, and for the first time since Issei began to fight he spoke. I damn you, he charged much more power until a halo of light formed behind him, giving him a divinity-like appearance. Long Ina Smasher Infinite Blaster, said Drake from the boosted gear. No one believed it, they swore it was a lie. The great sphere of energy was instantly consumed, as if it were the most insignificant thing. The silhouettes of the three subjects disappeared into space. Neptune's moon Larissa, a celestial body that had a diameter of almost 190 kilometers 120 miles, disappeared forever, along with Proteus and half of Galatia. N.A. You can now turn off the music. Everyone was silent as Issei descended to the ground and returned to his human form. He was naked, but the armor of the boosted gear soon formed again, only this time without the helmet, and only covered him from his feet to his waist. The halo was still behind him, giving him that touch of divinity. He began to walk until he reached where Nagisa was. Suddenly and without warning his box of opportunity pieces appeared, and 4 pieces came out of it and entered Ika, Mitsuda, Motohama and Nagisa. Without the need to do the ritual, all of Motohama and Ika's wounds disappeared and they began to breathe. Issei was speechless because his beloved had come back to life, but he felt like shit because it was his fault she died. She woke up and looked at Issei. Issei-kun, she said, but noticed the brunette's sad face. What's wrong? Nagisa, said Issei with a brittle voice. Forgive me, you are no longer human and it was my fault you died, said the brown-haired boy in pain. I don't blame you, Issei-kun, she said, approaching and hugging him. No one will, she said in a warm voice. But, said the brown-haired boy, to be silenced by Nagisa's index finger. But nothing, Issei-kun, she said in protest. I don't care about not being human anymore, I said Nagisa, but she stopped and blushed. You? The brown-haired boy asked with doubt. I love you, Hyoudou Issei, I shouted loudly. This made the brown-haired boy blush heavily and at the same time made him happy. And I only have eyes for you, said the brown-haired boy. Riaz felt a small pain in her chest, as did Akeno, but they knew how to hide it. Issei-senpai, said Kaneko, she is still human, she said, shocking the brown-haired boy and Nagisa. But the opportunity piece, said Issei. I can explain that, said Azazel, arriving at the place. Apparently these do not affect the race of origin of those who are resurrected with them and only give them the benefits of the evil pieces, said Azazel. In short, she will continue being human, but with the advantages of a reincarnated demon, said Azazel proudly. And what a piece I got, said a certain brunette with pigtails in the arms of a certain blonde who was crying with happiness. The pawn, said the brown-haired boy, looking at the case where a queen, a knight, a rook and a pawn were missing. What a pawn? She said with disappointment. Well, it's better than nothing, she said, as if nothing happened, and then she was hugged tightly by the blonde who was crying profusely. And mine, Issei, Mitsuda said cheerfully. "The tower," he said with a distraught face, and it seemed that everyone cared little about what had just happened. "The tower," he said happily. "By the way, what are these?" he asked, showing his iron gloves with several spikes. "That is a sacred gear known as Iron Demolition. It is a melee sacred gear, and it seems that you activated it in its balance breaker. Then I will explain it to you in more detail," said Azazel, seeing that Mitsuda did not understand a word. "By the way, yours is a Suramaru, a cursed sword that has an Asura demon sealed inside it," he said, scaring Motohama, who was hugged tightly by Ryu. "And what is my room?" Nagisa asked with doubt. "You are my queen," he said, making the brunette blush. "But seriously, Issei," said Azazel, getting the brown-haired boy's attention, "I already spoke with Auden and the rest of the faction leaders to change the memories of all the humans in the world. You know, Auden told me that 3 moons of Neptune were annihilated by that attack," Azazel said regretfully. "How the hell are we going to replace them?" He said the last thing to himself. "I'm sorry, I was blinded by anger," replied the brown-haired boy. "By the way, you know you literally have something behind your back," Azazel said, causing Issei to turn back, meeting the halo of light behind him. "What the heck," said the brown-haired boy in doubt when he saw the halo, although it vanished into particles of light. "Issei, you have attained divinity for the second time," Afa said. "You are stronger than your father by far in that state." "Right, I wouldn't have a chance," said Great Red as if nothing were happening. "Although it's obvious that you haven't mastered it yet," said the Redeed when he saw the brown-haired boy begin to stagger. "Issei-kun," Nagisa said worriedly as he watched him fall unconscious, while Office used a magic circle on Issei to dress him before he lost his armor. "I spend a lot of power, he will last at least a week unconscious," said Great Red. "Okay guys, let's go home, to the Hyoudou territory in the underworld," he said, making a dimensional gap and taking the kids from the place. Well, now what do we do?" said Azazel, seeing all the destruction. "Well, what does it matter?" he said, leaving the place towards the meeting room in the underworld to discuss all the destruction. Chapter 14. Founders Festival. 2 weeks have passed since the battle against Kakabiel, Rizava and Nasrg. As expected, there was chaos in the human world due to the disappearance of 3 moons of Neptune, and speculation was not long in coming, although Azazel spread a rumor about a super weapon so that the subject would be left aside. As for Issei, after 2 days he woke up and instantly became depressed for being partly the cause of Nagisa's death, but Nagisa managed to convince him that it was not his fault. For her part, Sunohara did not leave Aika's side for a minute, who was already ashamed that her boyfriend would not let her go for fear that something would happen to her, although in part she liked it a little, but she would not say it. Raya didn't want to leave Motohama alone because she was afraid of losing him, since seeing him die wasn't easy for her, although Kayu managed to calm her down. Akazaki for his part asked that his memory be erased along with Katomi because he did not want to remember such a tragedy, and they wanted to stop remembering the supernatural, so Searches himself changed their memory to a Treptocariac with everyone and seeing a strange beam of light coming out from the mountains, so Akazaki said that the army used a super powerful weapon, but like any person he soon forgot about it and returned to his village with Katomi. Right now we are outside the Kuo Academy Gymnasium because today is the day of the Founders Festival, where we see a couple of chestnut trees talking. "Ice-kun, are you ready for the play?" Nagisa asked doubtfully. "I'm ready, although I hope Mitsuda and Motohama are ready," he said, laughing at the last part. "I still can't believe they're going to make a play about how they were in the past," said Nagisa. "Yes, but I won't deny that it won't be fun to act in the play," said the brown-haired boy happily. "Hyoudou Issei, Yasuaki Mitsuda and Takumi Motohama, please present yourselves on stage." Zenovia's voice was heard as the student council was in charge of the event. "Okay, I'm coming," said Issei, walking to the stage. "Good luck, Ice-kun," Nagisa shouted excitedly as he walked towards where the seats were to watch the event, which excited Nagisa a lot because he would see his boyfriend perform. The lights in the venue went out and the stage lights came on, showing Mitsuda and Motohama in their academy uniform holding a magazine. "Look what I found, haha, let's show it to Issei," Motohama said excitedly. "Okay, let's go," said Motohama. And so the play continued, showing very funny scenes as Murayama and Caddis had offered to help the drama club and choir in the play of the perverted trio. In several scenes she beat up the group when she discovered them doing perverted things, so the audience laughed non-stop as it reminded them of the past and in part made them laugh at how they left Issei, Mitsuda and Motohama. At the end of the play of the 3 warrior ladies followed, where Aika, Kayu and Ryu acted as 3 warriors of ancient Japan on an adventure to be trained by a wise old man who was killed by the Fire Emperor halfway through the play, and the girls were taken to his castle, where they rebelled and defeated the Emperor's forces and, in the end, the Fire Emperor himself. It must be said that the entire audience applauded euphorically because they loved the play. The last place starred Nagisa, who performed solo, followed by the chorus girls who played and sang melodies as Nagisa performed, although in the end, Nagisa ended up singing Dango Dai Kasoku, ruining the emotional tension that had been created, but it was undoubtedly the best of the 3 plays. Basically Nagisa acted the same as in the Clannad canon. After that, preparations began for the closing of the festival, where a big surprise awaited the girls, as on the improvised stage on the Academy Esplanade were Issei with an electric guitar, Mitsuda on drums, Motohama with an electric piano next to him, and Sunohara with a 5-string bass on stage. It must be said that the girls were quite excited when they saw them there, because they wanted to see them sing, although they were not the only ones nearby, there were many students, although the occult club stood out, accompanied by former students Rias Gremori, Himashima Akeno, Sauna Shitori and Tsubaki Shinra, who looked on expectantly. Although they were impressed that Kiba joined Issei's group playing another electric guitar. From one moment to another they began to play. Dance with the Devil Breaking Benjamin. Issei began singing while the audience watched expectantly. Here I stand, helpless and left for dead. The audience screamed excitedly at this point. Close your eyes, so many days go by, easy to find what's wrong, harder to find what's right. Close your eyes. Many days pass. Easy to find what is wrong. Hard to find what is right. In this stanza I sing Motohama. I believe in you, I can show you that. I can see right through all your empty lies. I won't stay long in this world so wrong. I believe in you. I can show you that I can see through your empty lies. I won't stay long in this world so wrong. Here they all sang together in chorus. Say goodbye as we dance with the devil tonight. Don't you dare look into his eyes as we dance with the devil tonight. Say goodbye as we dance with the devil tonight. Don't you dare look him in the eye as we dance with the devil tonight. Here I sing Issei while several people get goosebumps. Trembling. Crawling across my skin. Feeling your cold dead eyes stealing the life of mine. Shivering. Crawling over my skin. Feeling your cold dead eyes stealing my life. This stanza is sung by Kiba. I believe in you. I can show you that I can see right through all your empty lies. I won't last long in this world so wrong. I believe in you. I can show you that I can see through your empty lies. I won't last long in this wrong world. Here they all sang together in chorus again, but this time the whole audience sang with them. Say goodbye as we dance with the devil tonight. Don't you dare look into his eyes as we dance with the devil tonight. Say goodbye as we dance with the devil tonight. Don't you dare look him in the eye as we dance with the devil tonight. Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Wait. In this part Issei played the solo that excited some people because of how he played. Say goodbye as we dance with the devil tonight. Don't you dare look into his eyes as we dance with the devil tonight. Say goodbye as we dance with the devil tonight. Don't you dare look him in the eye as we dance with the devil tonight. Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Wait. Goodbye. Bye-bye. At the end the audience burst into applause, although some more than others. For her part, Nagisa saw this excitedly, but on the other hand, Rias and Akeno felt their hearts slightly ache because the lyrics touched them a little. Boy no Michai was hello sleepwalkers. Mitsuda sings while Issei plays the drums. Iron hey kids the oral cigarettes. Motohama sings while Issei returns to playing guitar. Identity Mikio Sakai. Sings Sunohara. 7 Deadly Sins Man with a Mission. Kiba sings and the girls explode in excitement. Monster Skillet. Issei sings even though Nagisa didn't like the song. Button Penguin Research. Ryu was moved when he heard Motohama sing the song because he looked directly into her eyes while singing. Himinai Todik Tanazawa Tamafumi. Ayu almost fainted when he saw Mitsuda openly dedicating the song to him, shouting it to the audience before singing. Nami wo yobu luck life. Aika cried with happiness, knowing that Sunohara dedicated that song to her before starting to sing accompanied by Mitsuda and Motohama, while Issei played the bacteria. Bornus on the soul avenged sevenfold. Here I sing Issei completely alone. After finishing singing, Issei looked at Nagisa and with microphone in hand said. Nagisa, from the moment I met you, you have been the woman of my dreams. This took Nagisa by surprise, and he blushed deeply. I still remember the day I met you. I felt empty that day, then I saw you so beautiful and melancholic on the bridge near the academy. This made Risa and Akeno look at Nagisa in surprise, as she blushed more and more. I remember you said Ampen, and after that you asked if you liked this place, although of course you weren't talking to me, but to yourself. Then you said that you liked it a lot, but nothing could stay the same forever. You immediately said, happy moments, sad moments. It's inevitable that all of that will change. Even so, can you still like this place? This made several people reflect while many were waiting. I remember that I told you to look for new things and that if everything changed, whether for better or worse, you have to look for something new for yourself so that you can have more happy things and new friends so that you're not alone in this world. A small hole was made in Akeno's heart. I will never forget that day Nagisa, that outing to Karaik, and the improvised way in which Sunohara declared himself hahaha laughed Issei along with his friends. Although Sunohara looked upset and very embarrassed, I remember the first time I had dinner at your house hahaha at first I felt uncomfortable, but after that it was very funny, and I really had fun. Then came that incident with those thugs. The truth is I have never been so angry for seeing someone dear to me being harassed. This earned a strong blush in Nagisa and a little annoyance in Ria's when you fell into the hospital. I never worried so much in my life haha. Although I remember that you scolded me for skipping classes to go see you. This earned a general laugh when I stayed to sleep at your house with Lilith-chan. It was exciting, although to be honest, it was difficult for me to sleep because of the nerves haha. Issei scratched his cheek with shame. The game of basketball was unexpected, but you know before winning when I was falling, I remember hearing you yell to throw he without a doubt I did, and we won the game. This made those present watch as Issei began to blush. That baseball game that I will never forget, and even more so when I declared this made many get excited while Nagisa looked blushing and with a sweet look at Issei. Our first date is something that I will also never forget because it was the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced without a doubt more than anything because of the movie we saw or the fact of rescuing you from the villain in the hero show haha. He laughed nervously remembering that I've always loved it when you hide in my chest when you feel ashamed or when you look at me with that sweet look and that's why I can't hide it anymore. This won everyone's intrigue. Nagisa, I love you. I really love you, please marry me, Issei shouted quite loudly while everyone in the academy was surprised and made a fuss of excitement. Let's be a family, Nagisa. This won a bigger fuss while Nagisa was even more surprised. Ice, Issei, Nagisa shouted as he ran towards Issei, then jumped into Issei's arms and said, I'm so happy, I love you, of course I'll marry you, he said, while kissing him with great affection. 11. For her part, Riaz began to shed tears as it hurt her inside to see the man she once loved leave with another woman who in her opinion surpassed her in some aspects, but more than anything she felt happiness for Issei, since he would finally be extremely happy, so she smiled while crying. Akeno felt pain, but it was replaced by happiness, knowing that one of the most important people to her was happy. So from one moment to the next, she felt herself being hugged from behind. It's a cute couple, isn't it, Akeno? Said a male voice. Yes, Issei-kun has finally found happiness, Kaido, said the brunette happily. We should look for ours too, don't you think? Said the man now identified as Kaido. You say that she couldn't finish when he looked her in the eyes and said, I want to marry you, said Kaido, leaving Akeno impressed, but especially the other girls in the Gremory entourage. Hey, don't get ahead of yourself, Kaido, said a blue-haired boy as he hugged Riaz from behind. I want to marry Riaz too. Then he whispered in her ear. I can wait for the wedding in the underworld, darling, he whispered tenderly. Hey look, Asia said as she pointed to Roswius walking hand in hand with one of the teachers. So June made his move, Kaido said, earning a puzzled look from the others. Look at his hands. They noticed the Valkyrie had a wedding ring on her ring finger. That guy doesn't waste time, heh, he said happily. After Issei proposed to Nagisa, they went to her house accompanied by their families and friends to be teleported to the Hyoudou territory in the underworld, and upon arrival, they were greeted by all the servants. Issei-sama, Nagisa-sama, congratulations on your engagement, they all shouted in unison, while Ravel stood among them with a sign that said congratulations. After that they entered the castle where they sat in the main room and their Akio decided to speak. Listen, you better make Nagisa happy because the moment she suffers I'll take her back home, he said in a serious voice. Don't pay attention to him, Issei, that's how it was in high school, said Issei's father, almost laughing. Hey, don't tell me, Akio said, annoyed. Seriously, you haven't changed at all, Kaudaro. By the way, Issei's mother said, gaining the attention of the others, when will the wedding be? This made Issei tense up a little. Right, we have to decide the date, said Sani happily. There should be 2 weddings, one in the underworld and one in the human world, Office declared. Whatever, Issei Great Red spoke imposingly, I hope for many grandchildren. This made the couple blush, but the reaction of Issei's mother, Sani's mother and Office's mother, left them stunned as they began to decide names with Nagisa, but Issei spoke out loud. I wish his name was Ushio, Issei said a little embarrassed. Ushio, I love it, said Nagisa happily. Ushio-chan, he said Office happily. Ushio, what a beautiful name, said Sani and Issei's mother. Final chapter. There were a pair of brown-haired boys walking holding hands. They were walking towards the Kuo Academy quite happy because a few days ago they had gotten engaged, and their happiness increased when their parents accepted said engagement, although the Yondai Mayu wanted to have a big celebration, and more so when the commotion of the engagement broke out in all factions. Odin wanted the wedding to be in Asgard, but Yusaka insisted that it should be in Kyoto. Zeus argued that the wedding should be in Olympus, although some gods did not agree. Tannen insisted that it be in her territory, but the Mayu, especially Seraphil, wanted it to be in the capital of the underworld. In the end it was Azazel who convinced them that it should be in Hyoudou territory, and somehow they accepted. Issei was quite happy, and more than anything because Nagisa had moved into his house, although the problem was Nagisa's father, who kindly threatened, ask Issei to take good care of Nagisa so that he reaches the altar chastely. Issei accepted and said that he would never do anything that would make Nagisa feel bad or bother him in any way. Nagisa was very happy and she got along wonderfully with Issei's mother, although she was constantly embarrassed when she and Office insisted that they wanted grandchildren quickly. That always ended with the brunette running to wherever Issei was and hiding in her chest out of shame. So many things had happened in such a short time, and Issei was very surprised to find out that Sunohara had gotten engaged to Aika, and not only that, she had asked Issei to reincarnate him to be with her for eternity, something that Issei did not refuse. Something quite curious is that Ryu and Kaiju asked him to be reincarnated, and he could not refuse, since Nagisa argued that Azazel wanted to give them some artificial sacred gear to try, and that being reincarnated they could use it better. In the end he accepted being these and Sunohara his pawns. Currently the brown-haired couple arrived at the academy with great joy. They arrived at their classroom where the classes continued the same as always, although many asked Issei when the first episode of Red Dragon Rider would be released. A few months later, the graduation of the Kuo Academy arrived, where all the parents attended. It must be said that Sunohara proposed to Aika in front of her parents, who celebrated happily, and even more so when they saw that Aika threw herself into Sunohara's arms quite happily. Motohama and Mitsuda did the same with Kaiju and Ryu, who cried with happiness at the fact of being engaged. After that came Issei's wedding with Nagisa, which was attended by several demonic clans and legions of angels and fallen angels to guard the place, while the leaders of the faction celebrated happily. It should be said that even Hades went to the wedding and gave gifts to the couple. It must be said that when the wedding began everyone was shocked by the beautiful wedding dress that Nagisa was wearing. The wedding continued without further ado. It is worth mentioning that Great Red cried very emotionally next to Nagisa's father and Issei's father. Thus the months passed in which Issei had to participate in the tournament of the factions, where he stood out more than the rest, winning said tournament, although several were impressed when his new pawn, which was Ingvid Leviathan, who joined Issei's nobility after he saved her. 2 years after the events of Kakabiel, Rizava and Nasrg, Nagisa gave birth to a little chestnut which was called Hyoudou Issei, a small and imperious baby, which did many pranks although not alone, since Aika Kiryu also gave birth to little Sunohara, with whom she and Issei did many pranks together, although that is a story for another day. When Issei turned 2 years old, a survivor of the now destroyed Klepeth tried to kill the little brunette by giving her a juice with Samuel's blood. Issei drank it all, although Issei realized this too late, although to everyone's surprise Issei was completely immune, and not only that, his own body was strengthened thanks to that. Issei was furious, but when he wanted to do something it was too late. Office and Lilith took charge of said subject. Things were going great, but not everything is happily ever after. Underworld Vali, Lucifer's territory. Vali was furious, and that was not enough since at that moment he was fighting with a false Hyoudou Issei who carried the Divine Divide, the boosted gear and several more. Not only that, the bastard created objects out of nothing and used the power of destruction of the Baal clan. "Let me tell you something, great-grandson of Lucifer," he said mockingly. "My name is Hyoudou Wingdings Mirio Issei. I am the cursed one, the son of Chakravartin, the demon slayer, the fallen man, the angel of Anala, the archangel of despair, the true Crimson King. I am the strongest Seker Yuite in the history of another world," he shouted the last with enthusiasm, missing Vali, since the latter believed he was a clone of Issei himself, "and also your executioner," he said, kicking him in the chest while dividing his power and hitting him with multiple magic attacks. Vali screamed with all his soul as he lost his armor, receiving all the attacks directly and falling to the ground with serious injuries. "I doubt you'll survive this," he said, creating a huge sphere of power. "Feel the power that killed the dragon gods," as if they were nothing, he said, increasing his power more and more. Azazel approached the place where Vali was while he took him in his arms, but when he saw the enormous attack, he used a magic circle and sent a message. Then he looked at Vali and said, "It seems that it is our end," Vali said Azazel sadly. It seems that's how it is, father," he said as his sight slowly faded into the darkness. "I love you, son," said Azazel with tears in his eyes as he felt Vali's pulse begin to stop. "I love you, daddy," he said with his last breath as the energy was about to impact the. Nearby, Issei emerged from a dimensional gap, only to see Vali and Azazel disintegrated by the enormous sphere of energy. Issei was dumbfounded before shouting, "Azazel, Vali," he screamed with fury and helplessness as he watched them die. Pathetic, they were able to survive, but you see, it didn't even occur to them to leave through a magic circle, and that's even though I gave them time to escape, said Mario. And then why did you kill them? Issei said furiously. Nothing that matters to you, he said seriously. Both of them launched themselves into combat, generating shock waves from the force of the impacts, but it didn't last long, since Mario Wingdings was noticeably outmatched by the furious brown-haired boy, who summoned his boosted gear, and from it came a small cannon charging, which he did. This is our revenge for the death of Azazel, Volley, and even Albion Long-Ina Smasher Infinite Blaster, mentioned Drake, before the Issei from another reality was consumed by the attack, leaving nothing of him, not even his soul. Issei shouted in fury and frustration, however he was forced to look to the side, seeing a black-haired man with dark brown eyes and a serious look who looked at him and said. Your true revenge is not over, young Issei, there is still more to come. My name is Desmond Crobell, and I will help you fulfill your true revenge. And for now. Through end in a new story. There were a pair of brown-haired boys walking holding hands. They were walking towards the Kuo Academy quite happy because a few days ago they had gotten engaged, and their happiness increased when their parents accepted said engagement, although the Yondai Mayu wanted to have a big celebration, and more so when the commotion of the engagement broke out in all factions. Odin wanted the wedding to be in Asgard, but Yusaka insisted that it should be in Kyoto. Zeus argued that the wedding should be in Olympus, although some gods did not agree. Tannen insisted that it be in her territory, but the Mayu, especially Seraphol, wanted it to be in the capital of the underworld. In the end it was Azazel who convinced them that it should be in Hyoudou territory, and somehow they accepted. Issei was quite happy, and more than anything because Nagisa had moved into his house, although the problem was Nagisa's father, who kindly threatened, ask Issei to take good care of Nagisa so that he reaches the altar chastely. Issei accepted and said that he would never do anything that would make Nagisa feel bad or bother him in any way. Nagisa was very happy and she got along wonderfully with Issei's mother, although she was constantly embarrassed when she and Office insisted that they wanted grandchildren quickly. That always ended with the brunette running to wherever Issei was and hiding in her chest out of shame. So many things had happened in such a short time, and Issei was very surprised to find out that Sunohara had gotten engaged to Aika, and not only that, she had asked Issei to reincarnate him to be with her for eternity, something that Issei did not refuse. Something quite curious is that Ryu and Caillou asked him to be reincarnated, and he could not refuse, since Nagisa argued that Azazel wanted to give them some artificial sacred gear to try, and that being reincarnated they could use it better. In the end he accepted being these and Sunohara his pawns. Currently the brown-haired couple arrived at the academy with great joy. They arrived at their classroom where the classes continued the same as always, although many asked Issei when the first episode of Red Dragon Rider would be released. A few months later, the graduation of the Kuo Academy arrived, where all the parents attended. It must be said that Sunohara proposed to Aika in front of her parents, who celebrated happily, and even more so when they saw that Aika threw herself into Sunohara's arms quite happily. Motohama and Mitsuda did the same with Caillou and Ryu, who cried with happiness at the fact of being engaged. After that came Issei's wedding with Nagisa, which was attended by several demonic clans and legions of angels and fallen angels to guard the place, while the leaders of the faction celebrated happily. It should be said that even Hades went to the wedding and gave gifts to the couple. It must be said that when the wedding began everyone was shocked by the beautiful wedding dress that Nagisa was wearing. The wedding continued without further ado. It is worth mentioning that Great Red cried very emotionally next to Nagisa's father and Issei's father. Thus the months passed in which Issei had to participate in the tournament of the factions, where he stood out more than the rest, winning said tournament, although several were impressed when his new pawn, which was Ingvid Leviathan, who joined Issei's nobility after he saved her. 2 years after the events of Kakabiel, Rizava Manasarg, Nagisa gave birth to a little chestnut which was called Hyoudou Issei, a small and imperious baby, which did many pranks although not alone, since Aika Kiryu also gave birth to little Sunohara, with whom she and Issei did many pranks together, although that is a story for another day. When Issei turned 2 years old, a survivor of the now destroyed Clipeth tried to kill the little brunette by giving her a juice with Samuel's blood. Issei drank it all, although Issei realized this too late, although to everyone's surprise Issei was completely immune, and not only that, his own body was strengthened thanks to that. Issei was furious, but when he wanted to do something it was too late. Office and Lilith took charge of said subject. Things were going great, but not everything is happiness forever. A clicking echo was heard in the distance that seemed to come from everywhere, and suddenly nothing. Everything was darkness for the brown-haired boy until a light appeared in front of him, and a huge man in a medical gown held him in his arms while passing him to a nurse, and then he noticed his memories were going away. The last thing he saw was a young version of his mother crying with happiness next to a young version of his father. It was then that before his reasoning ability disappeared to be replaced by a new one, he came to a conclusion. And I was born again. And nothing. Author's note: listen to it while reading this part. A distant snap. Young brown-haired boys can be seen in a delivery room at the Kuo City Hospital, holding a little Issei in their arms. In another city, a couple was also in a delivery room, the woman with light brown hair and the man with reddish-brown hair. The man suddenly licked the cheek of the baby he was holding in his arms while laughing, and his wife also laughed at the situation because of her husband's antics. Skip time. Now the couple in Hikarizaka are taking care of a little chestnut that seems to be sick. Nearby, a traffic accident occurs and a family loses a member, the mother of a little blue-haired boy dies. In Kuo, a little brown-haired boy is in his kindergarten, naked, drinking from a water bottle, not realizing that his parents took a photo of that moment that would torment him when he grew up. Skip time. The blue-haired boy desperately tries to put out a fire in a friend's house. In Kuo, Issei meets Arena on the parquet. Skip time. Tomoya arrives in Kuo after being injured by his father in an argument that ended up causing a permanent injury to his shoulder. He is sent to his maternal aunt Hyoudou Hikari, I don't remember the original name of Issei's mother, leaving his previous town behind. Skip time. Suno Hariyuhei moves to Kuo before his first year starts and meets Issei, Tomoya, Mitsuda and Motohama. Nagisa falls into the hospital due to her illness, and the doctors suggest that they move to Kuo. End of story. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.